My former roommates mocked me and ridiculed me for wanting to lock the front door. So after I moved out, I got some revenge, where I came back to their place, opened their unlocked front door when they weren't there, and I robbed them right there on the spot. And honestly, I don't regret it, and it was incredibly satisfying. Here's basically how I did it. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the show where people rob their former roommates who were being toxic towards them just to prove a point that they absolutely knew they were right about, which is exactly what happens here. It's hilarious, trust me. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, in the summer of 2020, I was 20 years old at the time, and I moved into an apartment with two people who I will call Joel and Sadie. Now, these two were best friends with each other and acquaintances of mine from school. Also, this was the first time I ever lived outside my parents' house. The apartment was also in a really sketchy area of town. The cops were there multiple times a week, and we had items stolen from our vehicles. This was the best apartment we could afford since we all paid equal rent. And Joel was a medical student from a very wealthy family, but Sadie and I were both earning well below the poverty line. Now, a constant fight between my roommates and I was over the locking of the front door. They would leave the apartment completely unlocked whenever they left. I repeatedly asked them to please keep the door locked when nobody was home, since my laptop and other valuables were in the apartment. I needed my laptop for work, but I could not afford to replace it if it was stolen. Every time I asked this though, they always just totally brushed me off, and they implied that I was being stupid or overly anxious for wanting to lock the door. I was teased and ridiculed for this request on multiple occasions, and they never respected any of my wishes. They even said that if anything got stolen, oh, we could just replace it. Well, I came home on multiple occasions to an empty apartment with the door unlocked. They were okay roommates other than that, but this was a recurring point of tension that I absolutely needed to correct. Well, after a few months of living with them, I moved into a different apartment in the same complex with a friend of mine, and this is someone who I will call Maggie. Maggie and I were very much on the same page about keeping the door locked. We remained relatively cordial with Joel and Sadie, and occasionally said hi in the parking lot, but we didn't really hang out with them since they weren't taking COVID seriously at all. Well, one evening I was cooking dinner alone in the apartment, and to my dismay, our potato peeler was nowhere to be found. I scoured the whole kitchen and I simply couldn't find it, and unfortunately the peeler was essential to the meal I was making. So I decided to go and see if Joel and Sadie were home, and if they were willing to loan me their potato peeler. So I walked over to their building and I went up to their apartment and I knocked on the door, and of course I got no answer. But then right at that moment something snapped in me, even though I knew that I shouldn't do this. I tried the door and of course it was unlocked, and this was the very moment I finally got my revenge. I went into their dark, empty apartment, I grabbed their potato peeler out of their kitchen drawer, and I took it back to my own apartment. And you know what? I never said anything to either of them about it. 6 years later, guess what? I still have that potato peeler. It's a small bit of revenge, but honestly, it's still extremely satisfying. Holy crap, your ex-roommates are morons, dude. Seriously, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh yeah, we can just replace it if we lose it. Like, dude, what are you talking about? You must be made of money, but I'm not. Like, I got my computer and my wallet and my documents with me. I don't want anybody walking into my house out of nowhere and just being like, okay, I'll take this and I'll take this. Because guess what? In the same way that you walked in and took the potato peeler, someone could easily walk in and just start taking stuff. Like, that is so irresponsible, and it's completely rude to your roommates. Imagine living in that environment. Like, that must really suck. Now, the original poster confirmed in the comments section that yeah, they still have the potato peeler, and no, Joel and Sadie never noticed, it looks like. So honestly, I love this revenge. I think it absolutely proves you right, because yeah, this stuff could easily happen. And it's really ironic that you became the very thing you warned them against. Because if you're able to get in, then holy crap, someone with worse intentions could easily get in as well. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I overreacting to my girlfriend being mad at me after I didn't pay attention to her while I was on the phone with my dad? Because now she's acting really weird and I just don't know how to fix this. Here's what happened. Okay, so today my girlfriend got mad at me because I didn't really acknowledge her while I was on the phone with my dad. For just a little bit of context, my dad and I don't have the best relationship, and the conversation we were having was very emotional. I wanted to give him my full attention, and my girlfriend knows that. We had both said hi when she got home, and I told her before she came in that I was going to be on the phone for just a little bit. Well, she comes in and gets on top of me and starts being really physical while I'm on the phone. She tends to do this when I'm on the phone, and honestly, I don't understand why. I also wasn't really paying attention to her because I was focused on the phone call, but that just ended up upsetting her. Then she tried to get up, but I held her down because I wanted her to stay close to me. She kept saying she had to get up and go to the bathroom, and I could tell by her face that she was already upset. After I finished the phone call, I immediately told her to please come back and be near me, but then she started saying stuff like, "Oh, you're falling out of love with me," and saying that I'm not attracted to her anymore. She then asked for space, so I gave that to her, and when she came back, I playfully said, "Can I have my kiss now?" But that just made things worse. After that, we basically stopped talking. She said she needed space again, but I thought she was just sleeping in the room. But it turns out she was just watching videos, and that frustrated me because I've been waiting for her to come out so that we can talk and just make up, but instead she's avoiding the conversation. So I just don't know if I'm overreacting here. I feel like I was trying to handle a tough conversation with my dad while still being there for her, but it ended up turning into a fight instead. It's frustrating that she's avoiding talking, but also giving me space, and I'm honestly not sure how to handle it. What should I do? Okay, I gotta be honest, your girlfriend's super immature. She knew you're on a serious phone call, like she knows you're having a serious phone call with your dad, and it's obviously emotional and you probably look distressed. So maybe in this moment is not the time to start wrestling with your boyfriend, like this might be the time to give him some space. So no, you didn't do anything wrong, your girlfriend's being weird, she's obviously embarrassed that the behavior wasn't reciprocated, and it's honestly not your problem. So hopefully she can get over it because in my opinion she's being very silly. Today, I need to confess that I reported my ex to the tax authorities, thus getting his entire business and life in some very deep water. And after all is said and done, I honestly don't regret this for a second, and I've never felt more powerful. Here's how I did it. Okay, I want to start off by saying that it's been 2 years ever since he walked out on me. He didn't just break up with me. He blindsided me, moved out while I was at work, and was officially with a girl from his office 48 hours later. I spent months in therapy trying to forgive and let go, because that's what a healthy, mature woman's supposed to do, right? Like I literally tried to be the bigger person. I really did. But then I saw their vacation photos. They were in Bali, staying at a resort that cost more per night than my monthly rent. And he was smiling that same smug smile he used whenever he managed to bend the rules at his small business. I knew exactly how he was affording that trip. When we were together, he used to brag about how he manipulated his books, how he paid people under the table, and how he wrote off his entire personal life as business expenses. And he thought that this made him a genius. Well, I sat at my laptop for 3 hours before I finally hit send on an anonymous tip to the IRS. And you know what? I gave them everything. I gave them dates, specific amounts I remembered, and even the names of the contractors that he paid in cash. A few months later, I heard through some mutual friends that his business is being audited. He's apparently panicking. He had to sell his car, and apparently the stress is absolutely destroying his new relationship. Now, I should feel bad. I should feel like I've moved on, but instead, I spend my evenings occasionally checking his social media just to see the cracks forming in his perfect life. I'm a 32-year-old woman acting like a ghost in the machine of his downfall. I'm not the bigger person. I'm a petty, vengeful shadow, and the worst part about it is that I don't regret it in the slightest. Oh man, this is some fantastic revenge. I love this. This guy thought he was so smooth just working the system and like bending the rules as much as he could, but it's like, dude, if you burn the wrong people, you're gonna get burned back. So good for you. I love this. I think you're absolutely in the right for doing this, and from the sounds of it, it seems like this kind of revenge was very much deserved. Am I the jerk for exposing my husband's affair with his much younger coworker, literally to both of our families? Because right now he's trying to say that I broke the family up, but honestly, I am baffled by this statement. And at this point, I don't know what to do from here. Here's what's going on. Okay, it's important to start off by saying that my husband and I have been married for over a decade. We literally have 2 kids together. And I thought we were solid until I found out he's been sleeping with a woman from his office who is barely in her 20s. He started mentoring her when she got hired a few years ago. She was fresh out of college, new to the field, and apparently she needed some guidance, if you want to call it that. He talked about her like she was a little sister, how talented she was, and how he wanted to help her succeed. And you know what? I even met her a few times at work events. She was sweet, I liked her, and honestly, I thought that was the end of it. But then I found the messages and everything changed. They weren't like ambiguous either. They were explicit text messages going back months. Photos, plans to meet up when he told me he was working late, and the whole time he was playing mentor in public and sleeping with her in private. I confronted him and he tried to downplay it and said they just got too close and it happened. He called it a mistake and said it didn't mean anything. Well, I've moved out with the kids and we're staying with my parents, but now I'm getting messages saying that I broke up our family over something that wasn't that serious. That I should have just tried counseling first and that I exposed him as cruel. But this guy lied to me for months. He used his position to get close to someone half his age and now I'm the bad guy for telling the truth and exposing him? So seriously, am I the jerk? I really need someone to tell me because I really don't think that I am. Dude, you did the right thing by exposing him. No, you're not the jerk. This guy sucks. It's hilarious, by the way, that this guy's trying to be like, wow, you ruined the family. Everything fell apart because of your decision. I can't believe you. And it's like, oh, I don't know. This guy's got to have like a bag on his head because he's running into the furniture. What are you talking about here? He literally cheated on his wife and then got caught and exposed for it. And instead of owning up to it, he tries to be like, wow, because you told everybody about this mistake I premeditated, now you're the reason that the family fell apart. This is on you. You should have tried counseling. And it's like, bro, you really are the problem here. You're a narcissist. Because the amount of mental gymnastics this guy had to go through to be like, it's not my fault, it's her fault. Like, that is some crazy talk, and honestly, you're gonna be a lot better off away from this weirdo. My manager is super lazy and doesn't help out the team at all. And honestly, it's starting to affect pretty much everybody in the restaurant I work at. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. Here's currently what's going on. Okay, so I've worked in food service for almost 7 years, and I just don't like managers who refuse to help out their employees as needed. Our current manager is lazy and overworks us without lifting a hand with anything. Most of the time during service, she stands by the cashier chatting with her instead of trying to help us get the line down. She also sits in the office a lot of the time. A few of us honestly feel completely overworked ever since she became in charge, and the executive chef has noticed. In fact, the chef has brought this to her attention. He said, hey, what can you do to take a load off of some of your staff? Like, she gets on some of us for not getting things done in a timely manner, but we're doing a lot of things on our own without any help. Our last manager was very active and would always help us out with a lot of things, and it honestly just made the day go by a lot smoother. So if she's not going to help out, then honestly, they should hire another person. But of course, the company I work for don't want to spend the money to hire another person, and at this point, I just don't know what else to do. Okay, holy crap, as someone who's worked for a manager like this, I know your pain inside and out. They're the kind that just literally barks orders from the sideline, but would never ever pick up an apron and help out if we were in a crunch. It's like they're literally the first to criticize, but the last to help out. And if anything, they run away and hide. Because guess what? They're a manager now. They don't have to do that lower grunt work. They get to sit in the office and probably look on her phone and do literally anything else. I guarantee you, if you kick the door in one day, she's probably on Instagram Reels or something like that, just looking at stupid videos instead of doing her job. So if I was in your shoes, I would absolutely start looking for another job because this sounds miserable. And I know from experience, the second I did find a manager that cares about what I'm doing and actually is there to help out, my life got substantially better. So yeah, I think you should quit your job and find something else. I know that's like not the advice you're probably looking for, but like, dude, your manager's a massive jerk and I think you should move in a different direction. Today, I got some petty revenge on a coworker after I decided to purposefully stay a part of a work group project after this guy showed an obnoxious level of excitement about the possibility of me leaving, as I literally stuck around just to spite this guy as I knew he didn't want me around. And I've never felt more satisfaction in my life at getting back at someone. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I'm in the military and I was chosen to be part of one specific group where there's like 10 people and we live in the same room for 5 days a week and do all of our work together. I'm not going to go into detail about the work that we do, but it isn't really something I wanted to do there, and I decided that I wanted to try and like change the group that I would be at. Well, this one guy from my group who very openly hates me got way too excited when I said I will probably leave this group. And just as a bit of background, this guy is an absolute jerk towards me. He accuses me of being bad at my job and basically just hates me for literally no reason. But the funny thing is though, that we've been working together only for like 1 week, and I've barely even got the chance to talk to him or even like get to know him. Every time I've interacted with him, I've been nothing but polite and kind, even though he is very mean to me. Also, it's good to mention that we're only in this group for 2 months for training, and after it, we all get out of the military. So when he got excited that I was probably leaving, he kept asking me multiple times a day, have you already tried to change the group? Well, me being the pettiest person on this planet, decided this morning to stay in this group only because he wanted me out so badly. And when he asked me again this morning, have I already signed out? I just replied by saying, actually, I'm gonna stay in this group. And it's here that I smiled at him and I just kept going on with my work. You all should have seen the disappointment on his face. It was one of the most satisfying moments I've seen in a long time because this guy absolutely deserved it. Okay, this is some funny petty revenge because yeah, I can't stand people like this. It's like, dude, I was gonna go peacefully and go do my own thing, but now that you're excited about me leaving, oh, screw that. I'm definitely gonna stick around now, like screw that. Like if this guy had just kept his mouth shut, then all of this would have gone away. He literally would have had this person out the door and not had to deal with him any longer. Like especially if they really didn't like him that much, like good lord. So the fact that the original poster stuck around is hilarious to me. I think that is so funny. That probably shattered that other guy so badly that he probably was miserable the rest of the time you were doing that. And that alone, in my opinion, is well worth the price of admission because this guy was being a jerk and he deserved to get put in his place. Am I the jerk for lying to my family about how much money I have? Because currently, my aunt and my mom are seriously sucking me dry, and at this point, I don't know what to do about it. Here's what's currently going on. I'm a 19-year-old female, and I grew up in an extremely poor family with my mom, my aunt, and my grandma. We are a very small family, and although things have moderately improved, everyone is still lower class. Well, I started university when I was 17, and it's here that I started receiving student loans. And it was here that my aunt started asking me for loans on the regular. While I lived with my mom, I paid around $400 a month for rent, and I helped out with things like car insurance. I had to move out at like 18 years old due to constant arguing and strains on my mental health, and since then, she has also occasionally been asking for loans. Now, after I moved out, I got a part-time minimum wage job to help with the rent and my car, and while I'm not great at saving, I've been trying to put away small amounts each month with the hopes of saving for a deposit on a house. At one point, my mom confessed to me that she had maxed out her credit cards, and I ended up emptying out my savings both to help her out and giving my aunt loans of $200 at a time, which by the way, some of which I never even saw back. After this, I told them I wouldn't be able to help them so much anymore. Well, that is except for recently, because guess what? They ended up back in the exact same situation. I've replenished a good amount of my savings, but after a long talk with my grandma, who's also been giving them loans by the way, she urged me to keep my savings private. So for the last 6 months, I've still given them smaller amounts, but I'm now telling them that's all I can afford. But then last week, my aunt was helping me out with something on my laptop, and I just so happened to leave open a statement from my savings account. And when I did this, she blew up at me over lying. And when my mom found out, she did the exact same thing, saying if I can afford things like my tattoos, the club, and other non-essentials, then I should be able to help out family when I need to. As a result of this, neither of them have been talking to me for over a week, saying that I've turned my back on the family so they can do the same. And at this point, I feel so guilty, but I'm seriously so tired of helping them out of a situation they keep returning to. Like, am I supposed to never enjoy myself just because they can't get out of debt? Am I really being that selfish here? What should I do? Okay, bro, you do not have to tell your family anything about your finances. Like, holy crap. First off, your aunt and your mom are idiots, and it's like, dude, you're not responsible for them being in debt, but also them trying to guilt trip you and be like, what? You have more money you didn't tell us about? How dare you not help the family? And it's like, dude, maybe help yourself. I mean, what are we doing right now? Is the original poster really held hostage by your poor decisions? Like, they shouldn't have to empty out their bank account at all for you. You should get off your butt and stop, like, I don't know, going into debt and expecting your kid to bail you out. Like, how embarrassing. So no, you're not the jerk. You didn't do anything wrong. You should not have to tell them anything, and I think your grandma is definitely onto something. And if I was in your shoes, that's the only person I would be listening to. Am I the jerk for telling my confidant to pretty much zip it, as he's always the loudest person in the room, and he constantly takes other people's ideas and tries to present them as his own? Because now I'm kind of in trouble with my manager, and I just don't know if I crossed a line somewhere. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to be upfront and say that this was not my most professionally elegant moment in my life, but I've been sitting on this for like 8 months, and something finally just gave way last Tuesday. So there's a person on my team who I will call Marcus for the sake of the story. Marcus is not incompetent. I want to be clear about that because this isn't a story about someone failing at their job. Like, Marcus is perfectly capable. Marcus just also appears to believe that visible participation is the same thing as meaningful contribution, and has structured his entire professional identity around this belief. Every meeting, every single meeting, Marcus will talk first, he'll talk the most, he will repeat what other people have just said in slightly different words, and then say it with the confidence of someone who has invented the concept itself. Marcus will ask questions that are really less like questions and more like statements, with a rising inflection at the end. He also laughs the loudest at the manager's jokes by approximately 2 full seconds. For 8 months, I have watched ideas get absorbed into Marcus's presentation machine and emerge the other side sounding like Marcus's idea. And this isn't through malice exactly, it's just through the specific aggression of always being the one speaking when the room is paying attention. Well, last week in a meeting about a project I've been leading for like 6 weeks, guess what? He did it again. Took a direction I had proposed in the pre-meeting notes, repackaged it with more hand gestures and enthusiasm, and presented it to our director as a thought that he was having in real time. Afterwards in the hallway, I told him quietly and without an audience that I'd noticed the pattern and I was tired of it. That being loud wasn't the same as being valuable, that some of us expressed our contributions differently, and that didn't make them less ours. Well, he responded back by saying, "You're just intimidated by confident people." But I told him there was a difference between confidence and volume. Well, when I said this, he went to our manager, and our manager suggested that we both reflect on our communication styles. So yeah, I'm reflecting now, but what I keep finding is that I'm not wrong. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because I really don't know what to do. Okay, you had a perfect layup against this guy, but you completely fumbled it. Sure, you could talk to him afterwards and be like, "Hey, you really shouldn't do that. This is really taking away from my presentation," or whatever. But in my opinion, it's never a good idea to play with a pig and slop, because you won't win and the pig's gonna like it. And Marcus is the pig in this situation. Because a better way of handling this would be like, "Oh, thank you for that contribution, Marcus, but it's not quite what I said in my pre-notes." And then point to the fact that, yeah, you're the one that came up with this idea. It wasn't Marcus coming up with it like on the spot. Like, what an idiot. This guy's so annoying. Like, you would have executed this moron right there in front of everybody if you had just said this in the meeting itself. And obviously, you want to be polite and not let anything get misconstrued. But if you really want to expose this guy for the fraud that he is, then you need to start catching him in his words at the meetings themselves, especially if he stole your idea right off the paper. Like, dude, I would have brought that up immediately. I would have been like, yeah, and just like Marcus tried to describe, here's what the actual idea that I came up with really is all about. And then bam, just like that, you took the air out of his balloon, man. He would have been fumbling because he has no idea what this project's about. You've been on it for weeks. Like, this guy has no clue what goes into it. And then you could have like easily destroyed him with a bunch of facts that only you know about, that he's absolutely not going to be able to like regurgitate or read in the room. So sure, I totally understand your frustration where it's like, yeah, Marcus is stealing my ideas and pretending like he came up with it. But I think next time I would let the numbers and my own ideas and research speak for themselves. I would be so concrete in what I'm presenting that there's no way Marcus could ever try to take credit for it. Because I think we both know that this idiot's gonna try this again, and I just think it's better to be ready next time to shut him down right there in the meeting. My partner is saying that he's considering ending our relationship all because of my salary, saying that I'm not making enough money and that he feels like I'm not doing enough, despite the fact that I've stepped up in so many ways and truly invested a lot of time into this relationship. And right now, I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. My partner and I have been together for many years, and recently things have been improving. We were more stable, we were fighting less, and we were communicating better. I had just started to feel secure in the relationship and less afraid that he might leave me. Well, during a recent fight, he actually told me that he's been thinking about ending the relationship because I don't want to increase my income. For reference, I make about $52,000 a year. In contrast, he makes about $115,000 a year. I've always split bills and paid for all of my own expenses. Over the years, I paid off about $60,000 in debt, contributed to retirement savings, and I have excellent credit. So basically, I am financially responsible. I am simply not highly career ambitious, and I'm genuinely content with my job. He wants a partner who earns significantly more money and who wants to continue living in Seattle, which is very expensive. I mean, I would personally prefer a smaller or more affordable city, but I have accepted staying here because being together matters more to me than optimizing location or our income. What hurt the most was not just the discussion about income. It was that he framed it as something that might lead him to end the relationship. I see him as my closest family. I mean, I've invested deeply into this relationship. So when he links the future of our relationship to my salary, I feel reduced to a number rather than valued as a person. He may see this as some kind of long-term ambition and like compatibility alignment, but I see it as being asked to change something fundamental about myself in order to be enough. How do I evaluate whether this is a fundamental values mismatch versus something that can be negotiated? And why would income feel like a deal breaker to someone when the partner is financially responsible and contributing fairly? What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, and holy crap, this is just my opinion, it kind of seems like he's making a mountain out of a molehill by trying to be like, wow, I think I need to break up with you because you're not making enough. Like, this almost seems like an excuse to break up as opposed to like some kind of real concern. Because you said it yourself, like you're literally contributing to all of your expenses. You're paying your fair share, you've never complained about it, you have good credit, and you're like getting out of debt. So for him to be like, oh man, you're not doing enough, you're not willing to make more money, like that just seems weird and just very, very out of the ordinary. So hopefully things work out for you and like you're able to find some kind of resolution for this, because as far as I can see, it's not really looking good. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My best friend for the past 30 years decides at the last second not to attend my wedding, putting me in a situation that honestly has broken my heart and really frustrated me, because right now I don't know what to do. Here's how it all happened. Okay, for a bit of context, and this will be crucial, I'm a 35-year-old female and I've been friends, or at least was friends, with my best friend for over 30 years. We went through kindergarten, school, high school, and even when we chose different universities, we remained friends through thick and thin. During this last, let's say 7 years, she's been sharing with me her struggles with anxiety, and so much of our relationship has been revolving around what could help her feel better. And I also was trying to be careful with words, because she tends to demonize the friends that try to help her if what they are saying doesn't meet what she thinks. Well, this last year in October, I was getting married to my then boyfriend of 10 years, and the both of us also have a daughter who's 6 years old. Now, it was a very important step for us, not only because we love each other, but because I've also been quite ill ever since 2018. It was a living nightmare, and I did not want to get married in the state that I was in. I was really weak and I was really thin. And I say that just so you guys can understand it was not a minor thing. But still, I'm getting better and better every step of the way, and I was really happy because I could actually walk myself normally to the altar. When we broke the news, everybody around us was happy, not just because of the wedding, but because they knew that meant I was getting better and stronger for me and my family. Now, when I say everybody was happy, I definitely do not include my friend. She wasn't. She offered us a poker face and acted as if it was like something minor, with her being like, oh, why now? You already have a daughter with him, it's not a big deal. Even going as far as questioning me and asking if I was sure. But it's like, okay, I've been with this man for 10 years, he's taking care of me and staying by my side and helping me, so yeah, I want to be with him. And then through the wedding process of getting the dress, some flowers, etc., she was present, but I could feel something was off. She then told me that she will probably leave the wedding party soon, all because she has flat feet. Now, when she said this, I was shocked, and I can only answer by saying, well, you know who else has flat feet? The bride. But for some reason, I just let it slide, thinking it was possibly related to her anxiety more than her feet or my wedding. Then she told me she did not want to throw me a bachelorette party. For reference, some of my friends were asking her to do it as a surprise because we were so close. She told me she was not comfortable doing it, that it was too much for her, and that she was prioritizing herself because she didn't have the time or will to do it. And honestly, I didn't really take it well because she always puts herself first. It doesn't matter if you need help or if you share big news. There always seemed to be a way to make things all about her. And you know what? Even I felt bad and utterly sad. She wasn't willing to put me first, like not even then. I decided it was best to tell her, okay, it's alright, you shouldn't feel bad about this. I mean, she did offer to take me dinner one night, just the two of us, but that never happened either. And then she didn't come to my birthday celebration because her roommate had friends over that night, and that happened also a year ago. I've got to say, she's always sort of like preferred plans that were just the two of us, and she didn't like me getting close to her other friends, so I could not really try to join them either. But then came the real shocker. 3 months before the wedding, she sent me the following text message through WhatsApp. She said to me, hey chicken nugget, I've been thinking about your wedding thing, and I'm not going to be there because I don't feel comfortable. I've noticed a distance growing between us for a while now. Some things just aren't working anymore, and I think we're on different paths. It's not easy for me to write this, and I'm really sad, but the best thing for me right now is for us to go our separate ways. I hope everything goes well for you and that you're very happy. Now, when I saw this, I was livid, and so was my boyfriend. This text came in a Thursday, and the prior Sunday, we invited her to eat out with my family, and we spoke every day for like 2 days for the past 30 years, so I really do not understand what she was saying. My boyfriend was also sad. She used to come to our home to eat or like have dinner, and would stay the whole day, and she usually wore my boyfriend's comfy clothing because he's tall, and he always happily shared with her. So for him, he was also sad, since by this point, he also considered her a friend. Now, I haven't replied to the message, and a lot of my friends are advising me to reply and tell her what I think. The problem is, I don't even know what to think about it, nor do I even understand what happened. I'm also not even sure if she's gonna care about this or even read it. My loved ones insist that the message she sent was a way of not letting me answer, as it was such a closed message, which was not fair. And I see their point because I also felt that way. It was very hard at first, but I decided with the help of my loved ones to just focus on myself and the big day so it won't be ruined. And I'm glad I did that because, to be completely honest, I've been putting her first so much in my life, and it felt good to be kind to myself. Also, lots of friends and even family have been reaching out to me and telling me they always thought there was something weird and that they felt there was some kind of distance from her and me. And I feel quite bad about that too. I also think that that's what hurts the most. Not that she betrayed my unconditional friendship as if I did something wrong, but the fact that I've spent all this time unknowingly not being there for my people simply because I was focused on her and her anxiety and all of her needs. They deserve more from me. So as you can see, I'm not perfect in this situation either, although I've made the determination to be better for them, and I'm honestly keeping that promise. I don't understand what happened, not in the slightest, and it still kind of breaks my heart because at this point, I really don't know what to do. Okay, your best friend is being super toxic right now. They're clearly like jealous that you're getting married or something, which is strange because wouldn't you like want to be supportive of your best friend when they're like making a big step? Especially with the original poster. Apparently they've been like struggling with an illness that's been really frustrating for them, and they've had a terrible time dealing with it. Like, I can't believe the original poster's best friend would act like that. But I also want to say that the person they're describing sounds obnoxious. Like, seriously, they make it all about themselves all the time. Like, holy crap, what's uncomfortable about going to your friend's wedding? That sounds like a load of garbage if you ask me. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, what, are you just anxious and that's why you don't want to be there? And now you're choosing yourself, I gotta take care of me? Like, that is a huge cop-out in my opinion. There's absolutely not a leg to stand on with that. And if anything, it's just showing how entitled and selfish she is. Like, that's super dumb. So yeah, I think it was very smart to focus on yourself. That really is the best choice in my opinion. Because your best friend clearly didn't feel the same way about you and was happy to throw you by the wayside. And that really sucks and you don't deserve that. My boyfriend's entitled mother literally showed up to my apartment just to try and inspect it, all before he's allowed to move in with me. And honestly, this has really kind of creeped me out and I'm kind of questioning my entire relationship at this point. Here's how it all happened. Okay, so my boyfriend, who I will call Jake for the sake of the story, has been with me for almost 2 years, and we recently decided he's going to move into my apartment. And that's right, it's my apartment, you know, the one that I pay for, which is the very place I've lived in alone for almost 3 years. And the last bit of like crucial context here is that Jake is 26 years old. Now, I found out last Thursday when my neighbor texted me saying there was a woman in the hallway taking pictures of the building entrance and asking other tenants questions about noise levels and what kind of people live here. I came home on my lunch break and she was literally standing in my hallway with a notepad. His mom introduced herself very warmly, said Jake had mentioned the move and she just wanted to see where her son would be living, you know, before things got too far along. She then asked if she could come inside to check the layout and I said no. And when I said that, she looked genuinely surprised, like that was an unreasonable response. She then told me that she had concerns about the neighborhood and wanted to discuss house rules in case Jake moves in, including whether I would be okay with her having a spare key for visits. I told her this wasn't something we were going to discuss at my front door, you know, without Jake present, and that showing up unannounced to evaluate my home was not something I was comfortable with. She finally left, but texted Jake that I was hostile and that she thinks we're rushing things. Jake then apologized and said that she does stuff like this, but he looked genuinely embarrassed. Now, I like Jake a lot, but the idea that his mom sees my home as a space she gets veto power over is honestly making me rethink the whole timeline of this move, because right now I'm not sure where to go from here. Okay, this is some really stupid stuff. Are you kidding me right now? The fact that she felt emboldened to come over there and be like, okay, I need to search your apartment. Like, that is a huge red flag. What is going on right now? And also, why is Jake like not freaking out over this? Instead, he's almost like apologizing and being like, yeah, my mom does that sometimes. Sorry about that. And it's like, bro, is that a peek into the future? Is she gonna do this if you guys get married or if you go on a honeymoon? Like, what is happening? That is some grade A crazy if you ask me, and that is absolutely inappropriate. So when the original poster says, yeah, I'm kind of questioning my relationship with this guy, if I'm being completely honest, I totally understand where you're coming from, because it seriously sounds like Jake is still under his mom's thumb, and that is really unfortunate. Am I the jerk for screaming at my new neighbor after she literally hosed down my 6-year-old daughter who was making chalk drawings on our driveway? Because right now I'm still super pissed off about this, but I just don't know what to do. Here's how it all happened. Okay, for starters, I have a 6-year-old daughter. My kid is super quiet, and her absolute favorite thing to do is draw with chalk on our driveway, and she also never goes near the property line. Last week, a new neighbor moved in next door, and this neighbor seems to hate noise and children. Well, yesterday, my daughter was drawing a big rainbow on our driveway, and the neighbor marched over and told me that my kid needs to stop using chalk right away because apparently the chalk dust is floating over and ruining the paint job on her new car. I told the neighbor that is literally impossible. I mean, her car is parked way over on her side, and my daughter is just playing in her own space. But the neighbor rolled her eyes and stomped off. And seriously, I thought that was the end of it, but holy crap, I was wrong. Today I was sitting on the porch watching my kid draw, when suddenly the neighbor comes out with a garden hose. Without a single word, she points it directly at our driveway and turns it on full blast. The water completely washed away my daughter's drawing, and it soaked her shoes and pants. And of course, my kid started crying immediately. Well, I saw this lady do this, so I ran over and I screamed at her. The neighbor just smirked and said she was cleaning the dust off her property, and if my daughter got in the way, that's my fault for not controlling my kid. I then called my neighbor an entitled bully, and I told her to stay away from my family or I would call the police. The neighbor then retreated, but later she posted on our neighborhood Facebook group saying that I'm a hysterical neighbor who lets my kid vandalize the street. Some neighbors who were not there are now taking her side because the neighbor played the victim so well. Now, my husband thinks that I should have handled this a little bit more calmly since he argues the neighbors knew. But seriously, this lady left my kids soaking wet and crying. So am I the jerk for screaming at this lady? Because right now I'm still very pissed off about this. Okay, dude, I can't believe that you didn't call the police on this. This is completely over the line. I don't care who you are. You can't just spray water at some kid playing on their driveway. Like, in no situation is this ever going to be okay. So yeah, your husband's an idiot for not taking your side, and that lady's out of her mind for thinking, oh wow, if you can't control your kid, you're a bad parent. How about you're a piece of crap for spraying a hose at a child? Like, what's wrong with you? So no, you're not the jerk, but you will be the jerk if you don't do something about this. Because in my opinion, this goes far beyond having some kind of like entitled neighbor, and I think some more serious action absolutely needs to be taken. Am I the jerk for wearing jeans to a fancy family dinner after my mom destroyed the dress I spent months making for said dinner? Because right now I'm very pissed off about this and I'm just not sure what to do from here. Here's how it happened. So I'm a 20-year-old female and I love to sew. It's my favorite hobby and it really helps me deal with stress. We had a huge family reunion dinner last weekend for my grandparents' 50th anniversary and everyone was supposed to dress up nice. But in preparation for this, I decided to make my own dress for it. And I spent like 3 months working on it. I bought the fabric with my own money from my part-time job and I stayed up late almost every single night putting it together. I was so proud of how it turned out. It was a dark green wrap dress and it fit me perfectly. Well, my mom hates my style. She always says I dress too boring, and she wants me to wear this tight and bright designer clothing like she does. She kept hinting for weeks that I should just buy a real dress from the mall, but I told her no. I wanted to wear my handmade one. Well, 2 days before the dinner, I came home from work, and I found my green dress in the trash. It was completely chopped up. I then freaked out and I asked my mom what happened. She then acted all innocent and said that she was just trying to iron it for me, but the iron burned a big hole in it. She claimed she panicked and tried to cut the burnt part out, but accidentally destroyed the whole thing. Like, it literally made no sense. Then she smiled, pulled out this super tight, bright pink dress from a fancy store, and said, "Don't worry, I bought you a much better one to wear." And my god, I was heartbroken. I just went to my room and cried. I knew she destroyed my dress on purpose, just so I would have to wear what she wanted me to wear. When the night of the dinner came, I refused to wear the pink dress. Since my nice handmade dress was destroyed, I just put on my nicest pair of dark jeans and a plain black top. When my mom saw me, she lost her mind. She started yelling that I was embarrassing her in front of the entire family, and I was making her look bad. But I just looked at her and I said, well, my actual dress got destroyed, so this is what I have. At the dinner, my aunts and cousins kept asking why I dressed so casual when everyone else was in suits and gowns. But you know what? I told them exactly what happened with the iron and the scissors. My mom then got super quiet and looked embarrassed for the rest of the night. And now she won't talk to me. She says I humiliated her on purpose and destroyed the anniversary dinner for her. Meanwhile, my dad says I should have just worn the pink dress to keep the peace and that I acted like a brat. I feel a bit bad for causing drama at my grandparents' party, but I was seriously so hurt about my hard work going into the trash. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm kind of pissed off. Okay, if I'm being honest, I don't think you're the jerk at all. Like, your mom's getting a taste of her own medicine. This is not fair for you. You put so much hard work into making that dress. Oh, and by the way, hey, making a dress is not easy. Like, if you asked me to make a shirt for myself, I'd be like, I have no idea where to start. I don't even know what I'm doing. So the fact that you made a fully functioning dress that you were gonna wear for like this really important banquet or like this party for your family, like, dude, that is absolutely insane. Like, you pull that off and then your mom destroys it. Like, that is devastating and completely unacceptable. So no, you're not the jerk for telling the truth or for wearing something that isn't totally dress up. Because you had something set up for this occasion, but your mom ended up destroying it. And that's unfair entirely. Am I the jerk for finally telling my family that I'm done being their financial safety net after I literally dropped out of school just to make sure they would all be taken care of? Because despite the fact that everyone's an adult now, they're still practically demanding that I step up and take care of them. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. I'm 28 years old and I'm the oldest of 4. And for reference, we grew up working class. When I was 17, my dad left my mom for another woman and pretty much just vanished. No real child support, no stepping up. It was just my mom trying to hold everything together and me stepping in whenever I could. I started working part-time in high school and full-time right after graduation. I enrolled in community college but dropped out after a year because we couldn't afford it and my family needed the income more than I needed classes. So I worked in retail, serving, office administration, whatever paid consistently. And a big part of my paycheck went to rent, groceries, utilities, car repairs, and even random emergencies. If my siblings needed money for books or some kind of fee, I would cover it. I told myself it was temporary, just until they got on their feet, but now all of them are adults. They're all college graduates. I was honestly so proud, and I thought this was the part where things would finally shift, where I could go back to school, build up my savings, maybe move out and actually have my own life. I told my mom I want to focus on myself now, maybe finish up my degree and start investing in my future. Now, she was supportive, but my siblings were not. None of them have stable jobs yet. Instead, they say they're applying or figuring things out. Meanwhile, they're still living at home, barely contributing, and when money's tight, I'm still the one getting the call. Then my youngest brother got his girlfriend pregnant. He doesn't have a job, he's got no savings, and suddenly there's this expectation in the air that I'll help out simply because I always have. But you know what? I'm tired. I'm almost 30 years old with no degree and minimal savings, all because I spent a decade making sure everyone else had opportunities. And now when I say I'm done being the backup plan, I'm being called selfish and cold. Extended family keeps saying, oh, that's what family does. But I feel like I've already done more than my fair share. So am I the jerk for stepping back and finally choosing my own future instead of continuing to carry everyone else? Because right now I don't know what else to do. Okay, in my opinion, it sounds like your family's been taking advantage of you for far too long. Holy crap, you put your life on hold so these people would actually have a life. And now that they've graduated college, they're still asking for more, still expecting you to pay for everything just because you have in the past? Like, no, I don't think so. That's unacceptable, because you should not be expected to put your life on hold for these people. That is unbelievably selfish of them, considering the fact that you've done everything for them. So no, you're not the jerk. Like, this really has to be a line in the sand. I know I would feel that way, because they're clearly taking advantage of you and you deserve so much better than that. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that I don't want to be her emergency contact after she enlisted me without asking me first? Because right now I'm very pissed off about this and I'm not sure if I crossed the line. Here's how it all went down. Okay, for a bit of background, I live about 40 minutes away from my sister, who I will call Leah for the sake of the story. We have a decent relationship. I mean, we're not super close, but we talk every other week and we also see each other at family events. We're not the kind of siblings who are in each other's daily lives, but we generally get along just fine. About 6 weeks ago, I got a call from a hospital saying that they're calling on behalf of my sister and that I was listed as her emergency contact. She had come in for apparently a non-serious issue. She's completely fine, but in the moment, I had no idea what I was about to be told, and I drove 40 minutes to the hospital in a state of genuine panic. When I got there, she was already being discharged and seemed surprised to see me, which is when I found out she hadn't actually asked the hospital to call me. Apparently, her emergency contact form just had my name on it from a previous visit. Now, that part I could have let go, but what really bothered me was afterwards asking her when she put me down as an emergency contact, only to then find out that she had done it years ago without mentioning it to me. Now, here's the thing. I had never agreed to any of that. I had never been told about it. In fact, we never even had a conversation about what kind of role that actually involves. She said she just assumed I would be fine with it because I'm family. But I said that being family doesn't mean automatic consent to take on a role that could involve serious medical decisions, and that I would have liked to have been asked first. She then got upset and said that I was being cold and making a big deal out of a formality, but I told her I would prefer that she update the form going forward and list someone who had actually agreed to it. Ever since this happened, she hasn't really spoken to me, and it's kind of making me wonder if I'm the jerk here, because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I think the original poster is definitely being a jerk here. Because, dude, this is really not that big of a deal, is it? It's not like you have some kind of I don't know, life or death decision behind you being the emergency contact. It's literally just there to be like, hey, your sister's in the hospital, just wanted to let you know. They're not going to call you up to ask if you want to pull the plug or not. Like, dude, what's going on? That is such an overreaction and so inappropriate. And it kind of leads me to believe that you're probably the reason the two of you are not very close. So yeah, I think the original poster is definitely the jerk, and I think the way they handled this was very rude. My toxic, entitled friend is constantly making fun of me, judging me for my taste in music and fashion, saying that I'm too basic and that I need to venture out more. But after a recent incident amongst some friends of mine, she finally took things too far, resulting in me shutting her down and blocking her completely out of my life. And I've honestly never felt more satisfied about putting someone in their place in my life, because this Karen absolutely deserved it. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit about me, I have a really basic taste in things. I listen to whatever music I like, be it Taylor Swift or a 16-year-old kid recording a song in their basement. If I like it, then I listen to it. Same with my clothing. I prefer something that's comfortable, basic, not too much crazy colors or fabrics, and more on the girly side. I've always been like this. It's what I like and what I'll always like. But now I've got a friend who's getting triggered by it. I don't go out with her to one-on-one outings. It's usually with a friend group, and we don't text that often, but she makes it her life mission to comment on how basic I am whenever she sees my face. Like last night, for example, we went out and I was wearing this crocheted green cardigan with some embroidery, some blue jeans, and white sneakers. Just very casual since it was a restaurant. When she saw me, she said that I had the wardrobe of a high school blonde bimbo, which is like, okay, and what's the problem with that? We sat down and ordered our food, and while we waited, I was showing a friend a TikTok with a new song called Homewrecker, if anyone knows it, and we were laughing, and suddenly she groans loudly from across the table and asked me, do you even listen to actual music? Or is it just some guy screaming in a microphone? Or a blonde woman who sings about doing it? Well, when she said this, I asked her, okay, what is your issue with me? She then said that I'm rage baiting her with my basic taste. And mind you, she's like a 21-year-old woman getting triggered by a song. I then told her that my basic taste shouldn't affect her because it's mine. And as long as I'm not forcing it on her, she has no reason to keep commenting on it. She then says that she has every reason when I'm in her line of sight. But I told her she'll need to get used to it since I'm not going anywhere. It's Friday and I want to enjoy the weekend. Our other friends chimed in and told her that it's unreasonable for her to ask me to leave just because we have different tastes. She then turned it to me and accused me of turning everyone against her before she left. Well, after that, I blocked her that very moment because this wasn't the first time she escalated things because of me. In the morning though, another friend texted me saying that she texted her and said she's trying to reach me to apologize, but can't reach me and asked me if I blocked her. But I just straight up told her that I did, and I have no interest in undoing it. And thankfully, this friend didn't push it. Now, like I said, this wasn't her first rodeo. She does this a lot. She makes fun of my taste, blows it into an argument, and then apologizes and then blames it on her mental health. And sure, I get it. I know she's struggling. I sat with her multiple times through many episodes and panic attacks, but just because she's struggling mentally doesn't mean that I have to be her punching bag for her mood swings. So am I being unreasonable here? Like seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because I am so exhausted with this person, it's not even funny. Bro, this is not a friend. This lady sucks. And I think you made the right choice by blocking her right then and there. You do not need that kind of energy in your life. Like, what kind of friend is gonna pick apart everything that you do any chance she gets? Like, good lord, get a life. Why are you so obsessed with the original poster? And trust me, I get it. Mental health is important. Like, you really should take that seriously, and it's not something anyone should overlook. But this is not because of mental health reasons. She didn't attack you because she's struggling mentally and she's having a panic attack. She attacked you because she's a terrible person using mental health as an excuse and not like an explanation. Because I know plenty of people who have really bad mental health issues who would never do something like this. So for her to fall back on that and be like, oops, it's my mental health. I'm sorry, that's not gonna slide with me, not for a second. So yeah, this friend sucks. They absolutely are just really toxic, and I don't blame you for cutting them off. Because if she's gonna say nasty stuff about you, then congratulations, she can deal with the consequences. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today, I dealt with some of the most insane hostile energy I've ever experienced in my life. And if I'm being completely honest, it is still bothering me even to this day. Here's what happened. Okay, so I went to get a drink order off this couple last night, and it seemed like a first date to me at least, and I'm pretty good at spotting them since my bar is a notorious place for first dates. Anyways, the guy wants a full bloodied red, and I explain that we don't really have one at the moment, and then I ask him if he would like to try one of the two that we do have. He says sure, but when I ask the woman, she literally just stares at me antagonistically. After a weird pause, she then says that she'll try them too. So I think, okay, let's go ahead and do that, I guess. I bring them over and I pour the first taste. The guy finishes it and pours the second, but the woman leaves the pettiest amount in her glass so that I can't pour her the second taste. And I'm kind of just like waiting for her, but she never really does. And mind you, I work in what's essentially a dive bar, so this is our service style. So the guy says that he'll go with the first wine, but when I ask the woman what she would like, she just stares at me in a way that was honestly just scary. Jaw clenched, a really dark hatred behind the eyes. Like no one else has ever stared at me quite like that before. It honestly rattled me because she was so clearly communicating hatred. After making sure that I felt as uncomfortable as possible, she says to me, "I'll have what he's having." And I guess I'll chalk it up to that being her problem. But holy crap, it creeped me out and it honestly is still bothering me. Okay, seriously, I think someone in the comment section said this, but dude, there's a really good chance that lady was jealous of you. For reference, the original poster is a woman, so I'm willing to bet this is probably one of those ladies that just instantly hates any other woman around her man, where they feel the need to completely embarrass themselves and the person they're on a date with by acting like some hostile weirdo. Because why else would she be acting like that? Like, dude, what's going on right now? The original poster didn't do anything, they're literally just doing their job. So yeah, that's my theory on this lady. She was being hostile for no reason, and honestly, people like this are so weird and just so hard to deal with. My mom is completely deranged and making my life a living nightmare, as she has completely stunted any semblance of like independence and freedom in my life, while also demanding that I wait on her hand and foot pretty much all the time. And I'm honestly so glad that I'm moving out in a few months because I don't think I can put up with this anymore. Here's what happened. Okay, so my mother put me as her emergency contact for work without even asking me first. According to her, this means that I have to be by the phone expecting her calls 24/7. She says that it's my responsibility since I turned 18, and that apparently she has nobody else to put down. It's important to know that she's been a jerk ever since I turned 18 about responsibility. The real problem is that my mother does not want me to have any responsibility if it means that I will no longer be dependent on her. I don't have a job, I've got no car, and I do my college completely online. And by the way, all of these are not my choice. I'm pretty much forced into it because she works and she cannot drive me to a job or school. Yesterday morning, I woke up late at around 10 o'clock, and I usually wake up at like 8 or 9 o'clock. So this wasn't that unusual for me. I then check my phone with 4 missed calls from my mom, so I immediately call her back. She then tells me to put her lunch in the fridge, and then she asks me, what if it was an emergency? And then she hangs up on me. Well, it wasn't an emergency. She just wanted me to put her lunch up, so it's like, what are we talking about? Anyways, she gets home that evening and is still going on about this whole emergency thing that wasn't even an emergency. But you know what? I was fed up. So I told her, all right, if you want someone by the phone 24/7 in case of an emergency, then call 911. That's literally what they're for. She then kept going on about how Generation Z wants all the freedom and no responsibility. But it's like, dude, I have no freedom. I don't get to see my friends. I'm at home 24/7. I can't even attend school events. She acts like me turning 18 is my fault for some reason, like it's a threat to her existence. She was just going on and on about how now I'm 18 and I have to do this for her and it's my responsibility to my family. Then for some reason, she starts talking about, oh, when you turn 18, you can serve in the military. And that's why I have to do this because it's my duty. She starts guilt-tripping me about what if my sister was in trouble, but it's like I had already apologized for not answering. I was asleep and I simply didn't hear my phone. Then she starts talking about my financial aid information because she thinks that I get money because of her. But I don't. I literally have Pell Grant, and she thinks because she puts her information in there that she's giving me the money like I owe her something for that. But the government pays for my schooling and not her. And I really wish she could just understand that simple fact. Then on top of everything, she brings up my ex-boyfriend that she didn't like, and then how Child Protective Services was called on her, and how him breaking up with me was my karma for saying things about her. That situation honestly could be a separate post in and of itself, but trust me, it was really bad. Needless to say, she was acting deranged last night, bringing up anything and everything, and it honestly pissed me off so bad. But regardless, I'm moving out in a few months, so I'm really glad that I won't be putting up with this insanity anymore. Yeah, this sounds obnoxious. I would hate every second of living there. I also can't stand people who try to test you like this, where they almost like actively go out of their way to try and catch you not doing what they're asking you to do, or in this case, not asking you to do. Like, what's going on right now? Because the original poster's right. Like, if they're looking for some kind of like emergency hotline, it definitely should not be the original poster. Like, what are we talking about? So yeah, good for you for moving out because your mom sounds crazy and I would also really not want to live there. Am I the jerk for not giving my roommate more space, despite the fact that the space she's wanting is literally the rest of my house? Because right now she's kind of making me feel guilty for not giving her more room, and at this point I just don't know what else to do. Here's how it all started. Okay, I'm a 29-year-old female and I'm a homeowner. I inherited a 3-bedroom house after my aunt passed away of cancer 2 years ago, and for reference, she had no children, and we were close, so it was a no-brainer that she would leave it to me. I then spent the first year after the house passed to me renovating it and making it feel like mine. It was around the time this finished that my friend, who's also a 29-year-old female, had to leave her boyfriend's flat after they broke up, and she didn't have a backup plan. I let her move in with me and told her that she was, of course, welcome to stay. I then gave her the second largest bedroom, which is like 13 square meters with its own bathroom. Meanwhile, I have the master bedroom, and the box room is my office as I work from home. I told her that the bedroom she had was her space, and to decorate it however she wanted. Beyond that, she had access to all communal areas of the house. You know, the living room, the kitchen, the garden, etc. The only places I asked her not to go was my bedroom, my office, and the loft, which I renovated into my Dungeons & Dragons room. I run a game and my party meets every Saturday to play. It's been a year and I thought things were going well. I don't charge her rent, and my only request is that she split the utility bills and the grocery bill. I had a few rules, like nothing insane. I just wanted a heads up if she had an overnight guest, no loud noises after 11 o'clock on a weekday, and to please keep her own space clean. Well, she has told me yesterday that she needs more space, that it's not fair she only has her bedroom, bathroom, and communal areas, while I have the bedroom, bathroom, office, loft, and communal areas. And when she said this, I was shocked. She never expressed any unhappiness with this layout that I had noticed. I told her that yeah, I had more space, but she had to keep in mind that it was my house, and I had set up this space for me before she even came to stay. She then got upset with this and said I was being unfair and that we need to rethink the layout of the house. And if I'm being honest, this has made me a little bit uncomfortable. I let her stay when she had nowhere else to go, and I was happy to give her free control over her own space, but I can't help but feel this is rather ridiculous. So am I the jerk here? Because seriously, I don't know what to do from here. Okay, you are definitely not the jerk. This is so silly. Is she really trying to be like, wow, I need more space in your house? It's not fair the way we have it set up. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? This is literally the original poster's house. Why should they give up more stuff just so you can have it? Like, if I was in the original poster's shoes, I would be telling them, well, if you don't like the setup, you're more than welcome to start moving out. And maybe that is the play here. Like, maybe it's time for this person to move on and find their own space because they're clearly unhappy. And it's like, dude, I cannot give you more space. This is my house and I'm sorry, but you gotta play by the rules. You're just a roommate and you have free rent. Like, what's the problem? If I was in that situation, I would be like, oh, this is totally fine. I will absolutely make this work. Free rent and all I gotta do is cover utilities and help out with that? Yeah, I could do that. Like, holy crap, what a dream setup. And from the sounds of it, the original poster is very generous and very kind. So for this person to come in there and be like, I need more space. Like, bro, just save up some money and get your own spot. Like, don't try and spoil what you already have. So regardless, honestly, you're not the jerk here. This is your home and you have every right to do whatever you want with it. So for her to be acting like this, in my opinion, is really weird and completely uncalled for. Am I the jerk for causing a scene at my boyfriend's work, all because I didn't want to eat food that I literally didn't order? Because right now my boyfriend's saying that I humiliated him, and honestly, I'm not sure what the truth is anymore. Here's what happened. Okay, so my boyfriend and I were going for dinner in a restaurant that he works at as a pastry chef. I ordered a Caesar tortilla, and after waiting like 45 minutes, I received a Caesar salad. I said to him, that's not what I've ordered, and he just told me to wait and that he will go to the kitchen and make me a tortilla. After a few minutes, he came back with a plate, and it was just the previously made salad stuffed inside the tortilla. I then told him that I'm not going to eat that because it's not what I ordered. He told me that that's basically the same thing and that I should just eat it, but it's not the same thing. I especially wanted the tortilla because of the crispy bacon and the cheese that melts inside, but in the salad there were just like these thin slices that I don't even like the taste of. He then told me the kitchen will close soon, despite the fact that we ordered at 9 and the kitchen closes at 11, and that I should just eat it because I was complaining for the last 3 or 4 hours that I'm starving. I then told him that that is not the point, and that we could just go somewhere else to eat. He then ended up telling his colleague, who is the waitress, to take it off the bill, and we ended up going to a fast food place to eat. At the end of all of this, he ended up being mad because I caused a scene and made him feel ashamed in front of his colleagues. Mind you, I'm the quiet type, so all I said was that I'm not going to eat that, and then he talked to his colleague. So seriously, am I the jerk for not just eating something that I didn't order? Because right now I'm honestly really confused. Okay, first and foremost, I don't think your boyfriend likes you. Like, I really just don't think he does, because if I was in that situation and my girlfriend was like, hey, I didn't order this, I don't really want to eat this, I would go back to that kitchen and be like, are you kidding me, guys? What's going on right now? Because seriously, someone's family member is like a VIP. You go out of your way to make sure their food is right and on time. That, in my opinion, is like a cardinal rule of the serving industry. You take care of the people that come in that are like related to staff. I don't care who you are. So for the kitchen staff to make someone who works there as a pastry chef wait for almost 45 minutes for their food, like, dude, that's unacceptable. There's no excuse for that. The boyfriend shouldn't be expected to go back there and make it himself. Like, holy crap, he's trying to have a nice evening with his girlfriend. Meanwhile, the staff is doing literally nothing to make that happen. So no, I don't think you're the jerk, and I honestly don't blame your boyfriend for being upset about this. He was probably just really embarrassed by the way his colleagues were acting, and if I was in his shoes, I would be not only very embarrassed, but also pissed. Like, I would chew these people out so badly because of this. So if anyone's the jerk here, it definitely is the rest of the kitchen staff for not having it together, which in my opinion is something that is so easy to do it's not even funny. My boyfriend broke up with me after I rejected his proposal twice in 2 years, putting me in a situation where honestly I don't know if I'm the jerk or not, and I seriously just don't know what to do in general. Here's what happened. Okay, so my boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years. I love him deeply and I always pictured a future together, but I've been dealing with a lot personally, namely career instability, family stress, and some anxiety about long-term commitments. About a year ago, he proposed privately at the park where we had our first date. I was shocked and emotional, but I told him I loved him and I wanted to marry him, but just not yet. I explained that I didn't feel mentally or financially ready for that step, and it was here that I asked for more time. Now, he was hurt, but he said that he understood. Well, last week he proposed again, this time in front of friends after a big dinner that he had planned. I felt blindsided because we hadn't really revisited the timeline conversation. When he asked, I froze and said, I'm not ready yet, and I could see how crushed he was. Later on, he asked me if I was unsure about him. I told him it wasn't about loving him. I just wanted to be completely certain and in a better place before committing to marriage. He then got frustrated and said that after 4 years, if I wasn't sure, then I never would be. He told me he couldn't keep waiting for a maybe and broke up with me. When he did this, I panicked, and I told him that I would say yes if that's what it took to keep him, but he said he didn't want a forced engagement, so he left me. And now some of our friends think that he overreacted and pressured me with public proposals. Others say that I wasted his time and I should not have stayed if I wasn't ready for marriage. But I never meant to string him along, I just needed more time. So am I the jerk here because I really don't know what to do? Okay, I love the fact that the original poster said, I never meant to string him along, I just needed more time. But dude, that's exactly what you did. In my opinion, I think the original poster absolutely is the jerk. Like, there's no way I'm gonna stay with someone after they turn me down twice. At that point, I would chalk it up of being like, okay, she doesn't see a future with me, so I clearly need to move on. Because that's really what it feels like. I just don't feel like the original poster is serious about this, or they're letting their anxiety get in the way. Like, it's either right or it's not, but don't just sit there and string someone along and be like, oh yeah, I just need more time, and then never give any kind of timeline associated with it. Sure, he didn't bring up the subject again, but neither did you. You literally sat on it and did nothing about it. So yes, I think the original poster is the jerk. I think they definitely just completely ruined a good relationship, and I honestly don't blame their boyfriend for leaving, because if I was in his shoes, I would have done the same thing. Am I the jerk for driving my own car to work after my roommate basically slept in and almost made me late? Because right now she is very pissed off and I seriously just don't know what to do from here. I'm a 21-year-old female and I share an apartment with 2 people. I'm the only one who owns a car, so naturally I sometimes let my roommates use my car for normal stuff, like running to the store, etc. Recently, I've been letting one of my roommates take the car more often because she works a good ways from the apartment, while myself and our other roommate work within basically walking distance. So the last 2 weeks, I've been letting her drive the car so long as she picks up and or drops me and our other roommates off whenever possible, and we've happily been walking for the rest of the time. This particular roommate works at a coffee shop and often works either opening or closing shifts, so she's often available to drive us. I work at a bakery and I work from 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock. This morning when I got up for work, my roommate wasn't up yet. I knew she worked a closing shift, so I wasn't really worried, but I had not counted on her not being awake yet to drive me, and therefore would have been late if I had walked. So So I went ahead and I drove myself. My work is an 11-minute easy walk away, and I knew she had the time to come get the car before work, so I just drove myself. Well, about 15 minutes after I left, she woke up and immediately started throwing a fit, saying that I should have woken her up instead of just taking the car and forcing her to come get it. She was apparently so angry at me that she took it out on our other roommate and all but forced her to call her an Uber to go get the car instead of walking because her feet hurt. Now, I'm not allowed to look at my phone while I'm at work, so I didn't know any of this till my lunch break when my other roommate told me, because the first never said a word to me. So seriously, am I the jerk for driving my own car to work? Because this is honestly kind of blowing out of proportion. No, I don't think you're the jerk. I think your roommate's getting just a little bit too comfortable driving your car around and expecting you to just leave it for her when she very clearly has an obligation to help you out as well. That doesn't make any sense to me. That really is kind of stupid if you ask me. Yeah, you're driving my car to work, but also you need to drive me as well. We're all working as a team here. You gotta step up and do your part. Otherwise, this is not gonna work out. So no, you're not the jerk. This is your car and you could do whatever you want. Today, I refused to attend my girlfriend's family dinner after she literally called me ugly the day before, because now I'm incredibly upset despite my girlfriend saying that I'm being overdramatic and punishing her over a harmless joke. And at this point, I just don't know what to do about this. Here's what happened. I'm a 22-year-old male and I've been dating my girlfriend who's 22 for about a year now. Overall, everything is good. We joke around a lot and pull each other's leg all the time. A few days ago, we were on a video call and just fooling around. She was making fun of my haircut because it just turned out really bad. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she said to me, "I don't know how you walk around so confidently when you're actually kind of ugly." She laughed right after saying that, and I just kind of froze. I asked if she was joking, and she said to me, "Relax, I'm just being honest. You're not conventionally attractive, but you have personality." And honestly, that hurt even more. I didn't really make a big scene. Instead, I just said, "That's a messed up thing to say," and I ended the call shortly after that. The next day, she texted me like nothing happened and reminded me about the dinner with her extended family that was coming up this weekend. But I told her I didn't feel comfortable going anymore because I was still upset about what she said. She then asked me to quit overreacting and being insecure. She also said I would be embarrassing her because she already told them that I would be coming. But I told her I'm not trying to embarrass anyone, but I don't feel great about myself after she said that, and I don't want to sit in the dinner table with everyone wondering if she secretly thinks I'm ugly. But now she's saying that I'm being dramatic and punishing her over a harmless joke. A couple of her friends think that I should just suck it up and go because girls say stuff like that all the time. But if the roles were reversed and I told her that she was ugly but had a personality, I feel like that would be considered very cruel. What should I do? Okay, I gotta be honest with you. If my girlfriend said that, I would probably break up with her. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but dude, that is not a good sign in my opinion. You can't just call someone conventionally unattractive but they have personality. Dude, you're in a relationship with them. That's a terrible thing to say. So personally, I don't think you're overreacting. I think you're completely well within your right to be pissed off at this. And the fact that she refuses to actually apologize and instead is trying to write this off as oh, you're overreacting. That, in my opinion, is a huge red flag and a brief glimpse into your future. And in my opinion, that is completely unacceptable. Today, I found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me literally at Thanksgiving dinner with his family. So I decided to get some petty revenge by not only exposing him for being a cheater, but also by taking back everything I've ever given him, leaving his house completely barren. And I've got to be honest, this was incredibly satisfying to do, and I'm really glad that I did it. Here's what happened. Okay, so about a year into dating my now ex-boyfriend, I met his family for the first time during Thanksgiving, and I stayed overnight at their house. Dinner went well, and everyone was really warm and welcoming. But the next morning, this is where crap really hit the fan. While he was in the shower, his phone kept buzzing with calls and text messages. I glanced at the screen and I saw a message that said, "Baby, I miss you." And this was all from an unsaved number. So I called the number from my phone and the woman who answered told me everything about their relationship. They met at their work and he presented himself as single and pursued her around the same time we started dating. Now, I was obviously devastated, but more so disgusted by this discovery and immediately went into revenge mode. So when my boyfriend came out of the shower, I just acted normal. We went downstairs to greet his family for breakfast, and I discreetly brought my bags down with me. I announced to his family, "I just found out that your son has been cheating on me, so I won't be staying for breakfast or any future meals." And when I said this, they were stunned, and he looked absolutely terrified. Luckily, we had driven separately, so I immediately left and started driving home. But on the way, I got angrier, and I decided on one last petty move. Months earlier, I had gifted him a living and dining room set that I got for free from from a friend who was moving out of state. So I called up a pal of mine who has a pickup truck, and I asked her to meet me at his apartment. Using the key that he had given me, we went inside and took back everything I had gifted him. The dining table, the chairs, the couch, the coffee table, the side tables, gutting the place entirely and essentially leaving the room completely empty. I blocked him on everything, and I took so much satisfaction in knowing that he's a cheater with no furniture. Oh, and me and the other woman met up for coffee to hash out the details and finally became friends. So at the end of the day, this was kind of a win-win for me because I got away from this absolute loser. Holy crap, dude, imagine going to Thanksgiving with your boyfriend's family, only to then find out right then and there, oh yeah, he's cheating on me. Oh great, this sucks. Like, dude, the timing is completely uncanny, and I would hate to be in that kind of situation. But the original poster handled it well. They got some fantastic revenge. They exposed this guy for being a cheater in front of his family, which he probably will never live down, and also left him with nothing in his house. Like, that is so funny to me. So good for you for getting back at this person, because this guy absolutely deserved it.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay for my share of the Airbnb after my friend offered to let me stay for free when I said I couldn't afford it? Because right now, this is being turned against me in a way that's really inappropriate, and it's kind of put me in a weird position. Here's what's going on. Okay, so there was a big event in the city, which is a decent distance away, maybe about an hour and a half by train, and 8 of us were planning to go. Now, one guy who I will call Dan for the sake of the story suggested that we book an Airbnb and split the cost 8 ways, which basically cost around $70 each. Now, I've honestly been bad at saving my money, and I'm trying to make an effort to spend less. So I told everybody up front, if you guys want to do the Airbnb, go for it. I'll just take the train home after the event. Now, after the event ended, I started saying goodbye to everybody, and I tell them that I'm heading to the train station. But suddenly, everybody starts trying to convince me to stay at the Airbnb. But I firmly say no, because I'm trying to save money, and that I'm just trying to go home. Then Dan specifically tells me we've already ordered it anyways. Just stay for free since we're going to pay regardless. Now, I wasn't really going to argue to have a free place to chill at, so I just said okay. I ended up sleeping on the floor because there weren't enough beds, but I made some dodgy sleeping bag out of blankets and pillows. Well, a couple days later, Dan messages me asking where my $70 is for the night. And I seriously was pretty confused about this, because I reminded him he literally said to stay for free, and that's why I stayed. He then said that he was just trying to be nice and was still expecting me to pay my share anyways. I then just straight up told him that I'm not paying anything, and I would have just taken the train home if I knew I had to pay for something. And he knew that because I said it multiple times before the trip. Well, now he's calling me a cheap user, saying I'm taking advantage of him, and that if I was a good friend, I'd pay up because it's only fair. But I really feel like I shouldn't owe him a cent. He made the offer, and if he didn't mean it, he should not have said anything. And also, I slept on the floor, so the Airbnb obviously wasn't meant to include me anyways. I'm not trying to scam anybody. I genuinely planned to go home by train and only stayed because he offered free, and now he's acting like I'm a jerk. So seriously, am I the jerk? Because right now I'm really confused. No, I don't think the original poster is the jerk at all. Dan literally did offer the place and say, hey, come and stay for the night. It's okay. Come and join us. We're going to pay regardless. What he didn't say is, hey, if you do stay, you have to pay $70. So it's really weird that he would like bait and switch you like that and be like, oh yeah, you can stick around, and then try to like get money out of you a few days later. You're not using anybody. You literally were just going to go home on the train. Like, he knew your plan to like leave so you could save money. So for him to sit there and be like, wow, I can't believe you're using me like that. That, in my opinion, is completely out of line and so uncalled for. So no, if anybody's the jerk here, it's definitely Dan. Am I overreacting for wanting to break up with my boyfriend over the way he's acting towards my apartment building's rules? Because right now, I'm honestly very frustrated and I just don't know what else to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I've been with my boyfriend for about 4.5 years. 3 years ago, I moved out of my family home and got a tiny basement apartment that I unfortunately had to leave due to flooding. And my boyfriend would stay with me about 3 or 4 nights a week there. The next apartment I moved into was a more expensive apartment building with more rules. And my boyfriend expressed wanting to stay with me more often, so he said he would help out with rent and pay for groceries. Now, full disclosure, he has a criminal past, and so I didn't want him on the lease. And this is because I was worried I wouldn't get the apartment when I first applied. There's also been other issues in our relationship that kind of have made me hesitant to rely on him in that way. For the past 1.5 years, he has stayed with me about 6 days a week and goes home to his parents the other 1 or 2 days. Everything has been fine in this apartment building, and the staff had known that he stayed with me. For a bit more context, my boyfriend now pays me about $150
$15 a month for utilities and splits the grocery bill with me, and he does not pay me any rent. Well, jump to today, and we have a new staff at my building, and they are much stricter about the rules, which I totally understand. I mean, it is their job. But one of the new rules is that you cannot park overnight in the parking lot without a pass, and to get a pass, you must register your car as a resident of the building. I brought this up to my boyfriend, and he said to just ask for a parking pass for him or to register his car under my name, and I said I'm hesitant to do that because I don't want to get in trouble or even kicked out. For reference, I'm on a month-to-month in this building, and I love my apartment, and it's also far less expensive than anything else near me. Now, when I said this, his response was, okay, I guess I'll just never come over then. I mean, I thought we'd be able to come up with like a plan together, but I feel like he's putting all the risk on me. Now, I told him that, and he said there's nothing that he can do to come up with a solution, and then got pissed off at me. I feel like I've been sick worrying about this, and he doesn't seem concerned at all. There have been a few times when I've wanted to break up with him in the past, and I just haven't done it, but something about this is really making me feel like I should. So am I overreacting right now? Because this is all really frustrating. Okay, I don't think you're overreacting at all. It sounds like your boyfriend is just blatantly using you. And he's just completely being irrational. Like, dude, it sounds like if you don't do everything that he says, he's gonna jump to some weird conclusion and be like, okay, I'll just never come over anymore, fine. And it's like, bro, you don't need to be that extreme. Like, is it that serious? I don't know, that just kind of rubs me the wrong way personally. So no, you're not overreacting. I would also kind of feel like this if I was with someone who was acting this way. And this is completely aside of his criminal past. Like, people can change. I'm not judging someone based off of that. It's just the way he's acting right now is showing some true colors that I would personally never ignore. Am I the jerk for removing my roommate's access to the thermostat after he kept turning my place into a sauna? Because this has gone on for far too long and I feel like I'm losing my mind. Here's what's happening. I'm a 26-year-old and I live with my 27-year-old roommate, and we split the rent and have been for a while now. And with that, I've got to say that this guy is completely nuts about being cozy, which to him means cranking the thermostat up to like 80 degrees and leaving it running all day. Well, I work from home and it's like walking into a sauna. The meetings are grueling enough without feeling like I'm going to spontaneously combust. Now, I asked him to please keep the temperature reasonable a bunch of times. He would say okay, but as soon as I went to bed or left the room, he would flip it right back to tropical climate. Finally, I told him if he wants to live in a constant heat wave, he can take out his wallet and write the extra checks. But he said that I'm being controlling, and that temperature just isn't that big of a deal. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I changed the application password on the thermostat, and I set it to keep the house at a reasonable 72 degrees during the day and 78 degrees at night. He then finds out and changes the password and proceeds to call me a total psychopath, as if I'm acting like I'm the owner of the place. And I've got to be honest, it is getting pretty ridiculous. And now he's been telling all of our friends that I'm being financially manipulative because I won't let him turn the heat up to broil with my money. And our friends, I mean, my God, they're really split on it. Some just laugh along with us like it's a hilarious joke, while others are actually starting to think that he's lost his mind. So am I the jerk here? Because honestly, this is really getting frustrating. No, you're not the jerk. That is way too hot. I don't care who you are. Like, I don't want to be sitting in 80-degree weather in my own house. Because yeah, it's very quickly going to get sweaty and gross. Like, there's no reason for him to be like, I want it to be really hot. It needs to be super cozy. We're going to do that. It's like, bro, can we at least split the difference? Let's put it at like a solid 74 or something like that. If you want to feel hotter, then wear a sweater. Like, what do you want? But to crank it all the way up to 80 when there's no need for that, like from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of like, I don't know, snow on the ground, or your house is like naturally cold or anything like that. So like, dude, there's no reason to make it that hot, and honestly, that is super weird. My mom demands more money from me even though I give her a monthly allowance, putting me in a situation where truly I just don't know what to do anymore. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I work full-time and I still live with my mom. I cover the household bills, I pay for my own food, and I give her a monthly allowance. Well, lately she's been asking for more. She says that when she was younger, she gave her mom a fixed amount every month, so she expects me to do the same. What bothers me is that she doesn't expect this from my brother. He actually earns more than I do, but because he has some debt, she doesn't pressure him. Meanwhile, I'm just supposed to hand over more without any question. It's not like she truly needs the money either. She has a retirement salary and also receives my late father's pension every month. I mean, she barely even spends what she already has. I honestly don't understand why she keeps pushing for more. This situation also brings up a lot from the past. Growing up, she hated spending money on us. Whenever she did, she made sure we knew that we should be grateful and reminded us that providing for us was our father's responsibility and not hers. Yet when it came to her siblings or her own parents, she would give without any hesitation. And I think that's why this feels so frustrating now. I probably wouldn't even mind giving her more if she hadn't been so selfish with me growing up. What should I do? Okay, if I was honestly in this situation and I found myself working full-time and I still had to give my mom more money, outside of what is like already being given, I would probably start saving up to try and move out. Like seriously, I would be like, dude, I gotta get out of here. Because chances are you're probably spending way more just giving her money and paying for her stuff than you would be renting like a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Like, I don't know, this just seems really weird and just really unfair for you. So yeah, that's what I would do if I was in your situation, because it definitely sounds like your mom's taking advantage of you. My entire life revolves around my entitled sister, and after dealing with this for so many years, I feel like I'm at my breaking point and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm an 18-year-old female and I'm the oldest in my family. I was never the most successful or talented person, but if I find something I love, I put my whole heart into it. I have a hobby that I put so much work into, like I practice it anytime I'm alone, and I'm very proud of how much work I've done. Now, one of my sisters, who's about 12 years old, I'm gonna call her Brittany for the sake of the story, and Brittany is a prodigy in her sport. She is pretty much a celebrity in that sport and has a lot of followers on Instagram. My family acts like my stuff is less important and I should drop everything at any moment to help them out, but I've done so much for them. I watch my youngest sister for days to weeks on end so that my parents can go with them to compete, and it really feels like I started babysitting at 11 and just never stopped. I miss plenty of activities with my church and friends because of babysitting. I'm an adult now and I still live at home for financial reasons, and I don't even have a car, and I really feel like I'm going insane. I have started going out more with friends and my new boyfriend, and I do stay out until like 1:30 in the morning at the latest. So I guess I'm selfish for hanging out with people and having a life. I'm selfish for not helping my mom get my siblings ready. And I'm really selfish for defending myself when Brittany pulls my hair, physically attacks me, or calls me names like ugly, a brat, a jerk, or even worthless and useless. She would even say that she wishes I wasn't alive and that I wasn't her sister. Brittany treats everybody terribly, but still never gets in trouble. They spoil her and give her expensive clothing and shoes, as well as trips that just really don't seem fair. On the other hand, they've always made me feel like crap, but also they have helped me so much and I had an amazing childhood. Basically, they can be good parents when they want to be, and I love them, and my mom never hurt me physically, and my dad is amazing. But with all things considered, I feel like my life is really revolving around my younger sister and I just don't know what to do. Oh man, I'm so sorry the original poster's going through that. That really does sound miserable. You do a lot for your family and they clearly just don't appreciate that. You've been babysitting for years for them. You've been like taking care of like logistical stuff so they could have your sister compete and like do the sport she's a part of. But in the process, they've basically left you by the wayside. But I don't think it's all bad, because this is a perfect opportunity for you to literally pick up the pieces and move forward. Like if I was in your shoes, I would start doing everything I can to like get a license if I don't have one, get a job if I don't have one, and start saving up. Like that would be the first thing on my mind. Is like, dude, I need some money in my own bank account, because the way things are going right now is not serving me well. Like this really is a chance for you to take back control and figure your life out. So yeah, I hope this works out for you, and I hope you're able to find some kind of like independence, and your family's able to see that you really are valuable to the family, because all the things that Brittany's getting, you absolutely deserve as well, regardless of anything she might say. My boyfriend is a starving artist, and as far as I can tell, he is committed to being broke, because right now I'm at a loss of how to help him get his life together, and I'm wondering if it's even possible in the first place. Here's what's currently going on. For a bit of context, we don't live together, and we have been a couple for about 3 years. He had a good job when I first met him, but he hurt his back a month into dating and quit that job. He then racked up a ton of debt since he was out of work, until he found a job at a tattoo shop as a helper. He works 10-hour days doing whatever the artist bark at him to do, even if it's not related to the job. They don't pay him hourly, they just give him whatever they feel like he deserves for that day, which means on some days he might get $100 and other days $20, with some of those days meaning that he goes home with nothing. He's now training as an apprentice and they cut his days, and now his pay is dependent on how many customers he gets, which is not that many. The economy is so messed up, and tattoos are a luxury that a lot of people can't justify spending money on. I mean, I can attest to that personally. I haven't gotten tattooed in years because I have more important things to put first. He lives with his parents just like I do, and no, I'm not talking down on this, but he constantly talks about how badly he wants his own place. My dad owns properties and told my boyfriend that he could live in a 2-bedroom house that he has for about $1,000 rent, which is stupid cheap in our area, but my boyfriend said he couldn't afford that. And holy crap, if he can't afford that, then I don't see how he ever plans on leaving his parents' home. Currently, his only bills are his car payment, his phone bill, and his insurance, and he can barely make that. He has 2 bald tires and needs to get his brakes fixed, but he can't save up enough money to get it handled. My dad continuously offers a helping hand to him, giving him money because because he likes the guy, but the money never goes to things that matter. So I just told my dad to not enable him anymore. I try to push him into getting a real job where he can get paid fairly, but he just wants to chase his dreams. He constantly talks about wanting to get married and have kids, and talks about how he doesn't want to be too old when we have them. But here's the thing, he can't support a family. He can't even support himself right now. I feel so burnt out hearing about how much he hates his job responsibilities, on top of how broke he is. He could easily get another job and do tattooing as a side gig, but he says that his boss will only see that as him not being dedicated enough and just let him go, which really puts me at a loss here. So what should I do to encourage him to get his life together? Like, is that even possible at this point? What should I do? Okay, it really sounds like this guy does not have his life figured out, and he's not going to figure it out anytime soon. I totally understand where he's coming from, where he's like, dude, I want to be an artist. I want to chase my dreams and do what I love. And it's like, dude, that's totally fine, and I hear you, and I think that's absolutely noble, but guess what? If you can't pay your bills and you can't take care of someone else, then it's time to take off the rose-tinted glasses and get to work. Like, holy crap, get a better job. These people at the tattoo shop are absolutely taking advantage of you, by the way. I mean, I don't know what kind of program you signed up for, but dude, that does not sound like a job. It sounds like you're their slave or something like that. And sure, he wants to get married and have kids, and oh, I don't want to be too old when I have kids. But it's like, bro, what are you on about? You can't even support yourself, let alone another person. Like, you really need to get your priorities figured out sooner than later, because all of this is just really weird in my opinion, and it's time for something to change. Am I the jerk for separating the schedules of two employees who are currently dating simply because their relationship is starting to actively affect the workplace? Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things off, I manage a small business, and two of my employees recently started seeing each other. At first, I really didn't care. They're adults. As long as the work gets done, whatever. But over time, it started affecting the workplace. They would always take breaks together, stick to the same stations, even when they weren't assigned there, disappear into the stock room at the same time, and then get distracted talking while customers were waiting. If I needed one of them, I'd have to go find both of them. And you know what? Other employees started noticing too. A couple of them came to me saying it felt unfair. When those two worked the same shift, it felt like they operated as a unit. If one made a mistake, the other would jump in and argue. There was definitely tension building and people were starting to gossip. So I made the decision to separate their schedules. I didn't embarrass them or make a scene. I called them in privately and I told them straight up that work is work. I'm not against them dating, but during work hours, I need professionalism and focus. Well, ever since then, the vibe has been really weird. The girl cried in the bathroom saying that I was being unfair for splitting them up. The guy has also been noticeably cold towards me. And I've even overheard comments implying I'm bitter or meddling in their relationship. And now the staff is split. Some of them think that I did the right thing because it is a workplace, not a dating lounge. And others think that I overreacted and I should have just let it be, just as long as the tasks were technically getting done. I honestly just wanted to prevent bigger drama down the line and keep things professional. I didn't ban them from seeing each other. I just put them on different shifts. So am I the jerk for doing that? Or should I just let it play out and hope that it wouldn't blow up later? What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, someone in the comment section said it best. Like, you're the manager and not the villain. The second they turned that stockroom into their dating site, like that, in my opinion, is more than enough to be like, okay, we gotta get some distance between the two of you. They're obviously just messing around during work hours instead of doing their job. Also, they're turning any conversation into a 2-on-1 against another employee, where one of them's arguing for the other. Like, that is obnoxious in my opinion. So no, you're not the jerk. I would have done the same thing if I was the manager, because technically they're creating a hostile work environment that I would definitely not want to put up with. Am I the jerk for refusing to switch project topics after my classmate tried to say that she claimed it before I did? Because after I said no, she's kind of making me feel guilty, and I'm honestly not sure if I'm in the wrong. Here's what's going on. Okay, so in one of my university classes, we had to pick presentation topics from a shared Google Sheet. It was this first come, first serve situation, and the professor said once you put your name down, it's yours. Now, there was one topic everybody wanted because it's easier and has a lot of sources. I checked the sheet the night it opened up, and I saw no one had written their name yet, so I added mine. The next morning, a girl from my class messaged me saying that she was planning to take that one and had already told her friends that she was doing it. She then said she forgot to add her name before going to bed and asked if I could switch with her. The only topics left were more complicated and would definitely require more work. Well, I straight up told her that I was sorry, but I picked it fairly and I didn't want to switch out. Now, some classmates are saying I was technically right, but socially kind of harsh, because apparently everybody knew that she wanted that topic and I could have just been nice. I feel like if she really wanted it, she should have just written her name down, but I also don't want to be that person. So am I the jerk in this situation? Because I honestly don't know what to do now. Okay, there's no way of sugarcoating this. You're absolutely not the jerk. The girl in question in this story, in my opinion, is just lazy and has no business coming to you and being like, oh, but I was gonna do it. I already told everyone that I was gonna do it, so could you just switch with me, please? Like, no, if you wanted it that bad, you would have stayed up like I did and put your name down. She just wants the easy assignment. She doesn't want to have to go through all these complicated ones. She wants the lowest amount of effort possible for this project, just like anybody else. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, but I do think it would be incredibly foolish to give that up, simply because this lady is requesting it. My daughter's psycho friend sabotaged her school project by dumping an entire glass of juice all over her diorama, completely destroying it. But after I kicked this kid out of my house, this brat's entitled mother called me up demanding that I apologize for throwing her daughter out on the street for what she did, putting me in a situation that honestly still has me very pissed off because right now I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 36-year-old female and I'm having a huge argument with another mom in my neighborhood, and I really need to know if I took things just a bit too far. My 15-year-old daughter has a friend who's about the same age. They hang out a lot, but this friend has a weird habit of getting jealous. If my daughter gets a good grade or a new phone, the friend gets super moody and very quiet. So basically, my daughter has been working on a massive diorama for her history class that she's been doing for like the past 3 weeks. It took a lot of hard work, money for supplies, and late nights. Yesterday, the friend came over after school to hang out. I was in the kitchen making snacks when I heard my daughter start crying loudly. I then ran into the living room and the friend was standing by the table with an empty glass in her hand. She had dumped sticky, dark cherry juice all over my daughter's diorama, and it was completely destroyed and just soggy all over. The friend immediately tried to say that she tripped, but there was absolutely nothing on the floor to trip on, and she was standing totally still. The glass was also completely empty, like she poured it on purpose. Now, my daughter was sobbing, saying the friend did it because she was failing history and had not even started her own project yet. Well, when this happened, I just saw red. I told the friend to grab her backpack and get out of my house right that second. Now, I did not scream or curse, but I was very strict, and I did not let her argue with me at all. I opened the front door and I stood there until she finally walked out. About an hour later, her mom called me up. She was screaming on the phone, saying I traumatized her kid over a simple, stupid mistake. She said I had no right to throw her out and demanded a huge apology. But guess what? I refused to apologize. In fact, I actually told her that she needs to pay me back for the ruined art supplies. Now the mom has blocked my number and is telling other parents at the school that I'm a bully who hates kids. My husband thinks I did the right thing by defending our daughter, but I feel a little bit guilty about it. Maybe I should have called her mom to come pick her up instead of just sending her out the front door alone. So am I the jerk here? Because really, I'm not sure if I crossed the line at all. No, you're not the jerk. This is absolutely sabotage to the highest degree. That girl was absolutely trying to make sure your daughter's project was ruined. Because if she was like actually trying to trip, it would be like, oh, whoops, like, okay, I spilled a little bit of it, but not the entire glass. Like you would expect some of the juice she had in like the cup to still be there, and for some of it to be spilled on her hand or on her person itself. Like that would make sense if you tripped and was like, oh, sorry about that. But it kind of sounds like she just went, whoops, and poured the entire thing on the diorama. And I don't know if anyone's actually participated in making something like that, but holy crap, a lot of work really does go into it. You spend time and effort designing it and like making sure the measurements are right. You're trying to make sure it looks good and all this other stuff. So for anybody to go in there and be like, sorry about that, didn't mean to spill a tall glass of cherry juice all over it. Like, I'm sorry, that absolutely was on purpose and completely unacceptable. So no, you're not the jerk for kicking her out because I know for a fact if I was in your shoes, I would have done the same thing. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for exposing my colleague in front of our entire team after she literally tried to take credit for a project that I spent 3 weeks building from the ground up? Because right now, a lot of people are saying that I embarrassed her, but I honestly don't think I did anything wrong. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's how it all happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I spent 3 weeks on this project. Late nights, missed lunches, reworking it over and over until it was actually good. But in contrast, my colleague, let's call her Dana, contributed like one slide. Yeah, one slide to this entire project. So when our manager opened the team meeting and Dana stood up and walked everyone through her project without mentioning my name once, I just sat there in complete shock. Everyone was nodding along, congratulating her, and she was soaking up every second of it. And seriously, something snapped inside of me. I waited until she finished and calmly said, just to add some context, I actually built the majority of this project. Dana contributed one slide. When I said this, there was dead silence, and my manager looked confused. Dana then went red and mumbled mumbled something about it being a team effort, and the meeting moved on, but the tension definitely didn't. Now, half my coworkers think I embarrassed her unnecessarily and should have handled it privately, but the other half are texting me saying that it was long overdue. My manager has since asked us both for a separate meeting, and I genuinely don't know if I helped or hurt myself. So, was I wrong to say something in the moment, or should I have just let it go? Because right now, I'm really scratching my head and I just don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, the timing wasn't perfect, but just like other people in the comment section are saying, you absolutely deserved credit for your work. I think you probably should have put your name in the title of like, hey, this is my presentation and I did all this work, or some kind of like crediting aspect of like the slides you put into the project, just to make it clear that yeah, I did a lot of work on this project. It was not just Dana. So to a certain extent, I don't think you're the jerk here. I think it really could have been handled privately with like you and your manager, but I understand not wanting someone else to steal your work, because that in my opinion is way worse than you embarrassing this lady in public. Am I the jerk for refusing to babysit my niece during weekends? As my sister's basically demanding that I do this, all because I'm single and I don't have any kids, which according to her means that I don't have any stress in my life. But now, after I said no, she turned very sharp on me, and now I really just don't know what to do from here. Here's how it's all going down. So I work in an office Monday to Friday, and it's the kind of job that drains your brain before lunch and your soul before 5 o'clock p.m. By the time Friday comes, I feel like a phone on 2% battery. Weekends are the only time I get to feel human again. Sometimes I go to the movies with my friends and we eat popcorn and laugh really loud. And sometimes I just stay home in my pajamas with the curtains closed, enjoying the silence because it's the only peace I get all week. My routine was simple and it kept me sane. I look forward to those 2 days like they were oxygen. And then my sister finally got hired at a new job, and I was genuinely happy for her because I knew she was struggling after having her daughter. Her husband also works full time, so their schedule suddenly became really tight. Well, a few days ago after she started, she came to me and said I should babysit her 2-year-old every weekend since I was just home anyways. When she asked me this, I told her no. Not because I don't love my niece, but because those weekends are the only time I get to rest. I explained that I need that time to recover from work or I will burn out. Well, when I said this, she didn't take it well. Her face changed entirely. Her voice got sharp, and she actually said that I was being selfish and that family should help each other out. It then turned into this huge argument where she made it sound like my rest and recovery wasn't important because I don't have a child. And now the house feels really tense. She barely talks to me, and when she does, it's cold and short. I feel really guilty because I know she's tired too, but I also feel frustrated because my time keeps getting treated like it has no value. I didn't sign up to be a weekend parent, and loving my niece doesn't mean giving up the only days I have to breathe. So am I the jerk for refusing? Like, what should I do here? Okay, I think the original poster knows exactly what's going on here, but just to spell it out, you're dealing with a sibling who finally has a kid and suddenly became incredibly entitled. Suddenly, they think just because they have a child they have to take care of, they now really expect everybody in the family to just do whatever they say. Oh, you can't rest on the weekend, you don't have a kid, you don't know what it's like. And it's like, true, maybe I don't know what it's like. But guess what? That's not my problem. I didn't choose to have a kid, you and your husband did. So figure it out, it's not my problem. This is part of being a parent, and I'm sorry, but the stage of you having your weekends free is kind of over and done with. So no, you have not done anything wrong. You didn't make a mistake by saying, no, I'm not going to help you out with this. Like, that's not a bad thing to do. That's completely reasonable. Because sometimes boundaries are just going to piss people off, and that is absolutely not your problem. My husband's female friend is someone he had a crush on years ago, but now he's almost expecting me to be friends with her, despite the fact that I found out he tried to sleep with her back in the day, which honestly makes me very uncomfortable because right now I don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, I don't like talking about this because it's been a long time since I felt any sort of insecurity in my relationship. I came into this marriage with a lot of baggage, trust issues, some triggers, just from being cheated on multiple times with exes. My husband though is amazing, and I trust him 99% of the time. And for reference, I don't know if I'll ever trust anybody 100% again. And I will say, it is extremely unlikely he would ever do anything to risk our marriage. So this post isn't really about me being worried about his actions. Now, to the point of this entire thing, my husband has a girlfriend that he's known for the last 6 years. He considers her a best friend. He introduced me to her and her husband very early on in our relationship, and we hung out with them a few times together. One of the times we were at their house, and she and her husband got into an argument, and my husband, just my boyfriend at the time, went up to their room to talk to her her and give her advice. They were up there for like 45 minutes until her husband went back to the room, and the three of them talked for like another 20 minutes. Now, I gotta be honest, it made me feel really weird, but for a while, I just kind of brushed it off. But then one day, and I don't really remember how it came up, but my husband, who was still my boyfriend at the time, told me that he used to have a crush on this lady and asked her if she wanted to spend some quality time with him, if you know what I mean. And by the way, this was like before she met her husband and before I ever met my husband. They were both in an early 20s sleeping around phase. She said no, and eventually they became best buddies, and he has said that he only thinks about her as like a sister now, and that even though he still thinks she's attractive, he's not attracted to her anymore. But is that even possible? Regardless, ever since he shared that tidbit of information with me, I've had uncomfortable feelings regarding their friendship. It took me nearly 3 years to finally bring up that everything I've just explained makes me a bit uncomfortable, and how every time I see notifications from her pop up on his phone, it makes my stomach do a little involuntary flip-flop. I would never ask him to stop being friends with her, so I just deal with it. We also haven't had to hang out with her for a couple of years because they moved to a different state, but my husband just let me know that she and her husband are getting a divorce, meaning that she will likely be moving back here. I also wonder how often she's been talking to my husband since this happened, or if she'll try to get extra close to him again. I would hope that she wouldn't cross boundaries, but I don't know her well enough as a person to know if she would or not. I'm not sure my husband would shut it down if that happened, but it still makes me feel really gross to think about. But my biggest problem is that my husband is under the impression that I want to be friends or am friends with her. I'm sure with her going through a divorce and her likely moving back here, he's going to want to hang out with her again, but I don't really want to be friends or even hang out with her. Do I just suck it up and deal with it and pretend I'm fine and dandy when we inevitably hang out, or do I voice my uncomfortableness to my husband? What should I do? Okay, dude, if I had a girlfriend who was like, oh, here's my guy friend, we almost slept together in our 20s. Anyways, hey, let's be best friends. It's like, no, I don't want anything to do with this guy. Like, why is he in our life? And I get it, people can be friends, but this sounds like this is one of those situations where it's like, okay, if you change just a few circumstances, these people would absolutely do something together that would like ruin their lives. I don't know, it just seems really sketchy to me, and it's something I would feel very uncomfortable with. So to that extent, I don't blame the original poster for being upset about this, because I would feel the exact same way. Am I the jerk for telling a woman to have her and her kids get off their phone at the movies, resulting in them either getting kicked out or leaving on their own? Because while they were leaving, I was made to feel very guilty for saying anything in the first place, and at this point, I don't know if I'm in the wrong. Here's what happened. Okay, so I saw a movie last night, and literally during the movie, I was distracted by a family 2 rows in front of me. There was a mom, a teenage son, a teenage daughter, and maybe like a 7-year-old daughter. The first issue was the son was constantly moving seats throughout the movie, and at one point, he was sitting in front of his family. The mom was on her phone most of the movie, and at several points was filming the movie itself. The mom and son were taking turns using their phones, and then passing one of the phones to the 7-year-old who was playing games. I gotta be honest, it was super distracting. So I went up and I whispered to the mom to get off their phones. She then said to me, she's playing a game. She's not doing anything wrong. But I said to her, it's a movie theater. Y'all aren't supposed to be on your phones. The mom then said to me, you can ask nicer. But I said to her, or you can be a better example to your kids and actually parent them properly. And then I just walked away. A couple minutes later, I was about to get up and go talk to an employee because they were still on their phones, but the mom got up and was gone for a few more minutes before the kids got up and left. The teenage daughter then said, I hope you're happy. You should be ashamed of yourself, talking to a grown woman like that as a grown man. The son then looked at me and said, you're a punk, and took my collector popcorn bucket from the movie from next to me and started to run away. And when I got up to go after him, he dropped it and just ran off. This whole interaction was just really weird, but it kind of leaves me wondering if I'm the jerk for saying something, because right now I'm not really sure. Okay, first of all, I don't think you're the jerk at all. This is seriously so unbelievably rude. I don't know about you, but like I've noticed a lot of people who are like super entitled, almost flocking to these public entertainment events. Stuff like movie theaters or like live shows, like it's all super obnoxious, where they have no theater etiquette, they don't realize they need to get off their phone and pay attention, and they also like try to act like, oh yeah, everybody else around me has to bend to my will. I don't have to listen to anybody, and you just have to accept who I am. It's like, no, I'm gonna tell you to shut up. I'm gonna tell you to put your phone away. Like, this is weird. Like, if you're recording stuff and playing a game on your phone in the middle of a movie theater, then why not just stay home and watch a movie? Why go to a public place and inconvenience everybody else when I'm literally back here just trying to watch a movie, dude? Like, seriously, this is disturbing me and I have every right to speak up. It's also funny that the girl thought she was getting one over on you, where she's like, oh yeah, I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy and you should be ashamed of yourself. You can't talk to a grown woman like that. Like, dude, I would want to respond to be like, oh yeah, I really am happy with myself. You guys are gone and I get to enjoy my movie. movie. Like, are you kidding me? And what a desperate play by this kid being like, you're a loser, you're a jerk, and then running off with your popcorn bucket. He's like, ooh, you got me, dude. You totally showed me up. So no, you're not the jerk. This is some weird behavior. I think these people absolutely deserve to get shut down. And I'm personally glad that you said something because that absolutely was the right thing to do. Today, I received an anonymous message that my girlfriend has been cheating on me behind my back. And right now, I honestly don't know what to believe because this really has me shaken to my core. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I've been in a relationship with my live-in girlfriend for years. Recently, someone from my girlfriend's work reached out to me claiming that she is also in a relationship with her coworker for more than a year behind my back. Well, when I got this information, I confronted my girlfriend, and she swore up and down that it's a lie, and she knows who's behind it as the person has a grudge on them. Now, my girlfriend filed a complaint with Human Resources, but it couldn't be proven since they used a fake account after investigation. She tried to get them to reopen the case, and this time I teamed up with her, but they refused and said that we have to deal with it ourselves outside of work, as it's not a work-related issue. And if she is getting bothered outside of work, then she should get law enforcement involved to deal with it. So would someone actually make this up just to be spiteful? Because right now I don't know what to believe. Bro, someone absolutely would make this up just to be spiteful. Are you kidding me right now? I've had coworkers who were some of the worst people on planet Earth, dude. Like, seriously, there's a lot of people out there who just suck at life. They hate you for literally any reason, and some people would go out of their ways to be like, oh yeah, your girlfriend's cheating on you, even though there's literally no evidence to support that at all. They just want to disrupt your girlfriend's life and ruin yours in the process. So unless there's some kind of like concrete evidence that your girlfriend's sleeping around behind your back, or even has some kind of like work relationship you don't know about, like unless you get some solid evidence, I would not jump to any conclusions, because chances are it's just some like disgruntled coworker who clearly has it out for your girlfriend. Today, I found out that I will inherit a lot of money when my parents pass away. And if I'm being completely honest, it has completely ruined my career drive, where I literally don't want to work because I'm thinking about the millions of dollars I'm going to inherit. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so as the title basically says, I found out that I will inherit a lot of money someday, and this has caused me a lot of internal conflict. About 2 years ago, my dad asked my brother and I to meet him, and to bring his wife and also my partner. For reference, we're not married and we have 2 toddlers. He is in his 70s and has had more than a few health problems over the years. He then told us that he set up a trust which we will inherit someday, with each of our shares worth about $3 million. He's also leaving about $250,000 to each of his grandchildren. He got a little emotional, but also got in a few digs on me about religion and the fact that my partner and I are not married. For reference, I'm in my 40s and I stopped caring about his opinion on those things a long time ago, so I just kind of brushed it off as usual. Now, this all came as a bit of a surprise because we always had a pretty modest upbringing on the outskirts of a mid-sized city. My parents drove Hondas. My mom was a nurse on an overnight shift for decades, and we used coupons at Jiffy Lube and wore knockoff JCPenney sneakers. We signed some papers and we hugged each other, and I really think I've still just been processing the news. I am extremely grateful, but I also have a few feelings that surprise me. For starters, I'm not sure if I will get this inheritance when he dies or when both of my parents pass away. It could be much longer if it's both, I'm thinking. I know it's extremely ungrateful to ask, so instead I'm here on a Reddit thread to try and confess it. It also makes a huge amount of difference if I'm gonna get this money 5 years from now or 20 years from now. So yeah, sue me. Secondly, it has pretty much killed my drive at work. I have been at the same job for 20 years, and I worked my way up to the top financial role in the company. I'm supporting my family while my partner's home with our kids, and I'm basically committed to doing this job until my kids are both school age and my partner can return to work. It's not a terribly difficult job. I mean, we need the health insurance. It pays the bills, but I just don't feel like doing it forever. In an ideal world, I could wake up, run a 10K, shower, then go and write for a few hours, and then see if anything profitable comes of it eventually. Now, I would never say this to them because it is extremely ungrateful, but my parents are prototypical boomers in that their comfort and desire takes priority. I am thankful for the money, but I also want them to be more involved in my children's lives. They live out of state and take care of my very old great-grandmother, but that was their choice to move, and they put the guilt trip on me to bring the kids down to visit every year. I want my kids to know them more than just a FaceTime call once a month, but I'm also used to my parents prioritizing themselves. I see friends whose parents are spending time with the kids regularly, and I wish my kids had that type of relationship too. I just do not want to ask my parents to do something they should feel evolutionary drawn to do already. They want to stay in Florida and go to church all the time instead. Also, I'm afraid of telling my friends about this money because it could change the relationship or the way they look at me. I would be more willing to help out friends in need, but I just don't don't want to be someone that people come to ask for help. I also don't want my children to be spoiled. I mean, I've seen what this has done to my own career drive, and I'm a grown man. Anyways, enough with the rambling. I seriously wanted to get these thoughts out of my head because right now I don't know what to do. Holy crap, there are so many red flags here, it's not even funny. I don't care that your career is going down the drain and you're like, man, I don't want to work, I'm going to inherit $3 million. The biggest problem here is you being like, man, what do I tell my friends and family? Bro, you don't tell them anything. You keep your mouth shut. You don't tell them anything about this. If you tell anyone about this money, I guarantee you it will spread like wildfire. People will be like, oh yeah, the original poster has $3 million in the bank. Go ask them for money. And then pretty soon you're bankrolling everybody's life. Everybody and their mother's going to come out of the woodworks and be like, oh, you can help me out. You're a millionaire. And then very quickly, that $3 million you're supposed to get is going to become the biggest pain in the neck you've ever experienced. Because people change when millions of dollars are involved. If you haven't noticed, the economy sucks and people are like barely getting by. So if anyone found out that, yeah, you're about to get $3 million when your parents pass away, there's probably a high likelihood that they're going to be either incredibly jealous or try to jump on that immediately and do whatever it takes just to get a slice of that pie. So if I was in your shoes, I would keep my mouth shut and just keep working. Make as much money as you can with the job that you do have and just keep your mouth shut about this money because, dude, your life is going to get so much harder if you spill the beans. Because this is definitely something that needs to stay a secret and you need to keep private because the people around you will change very quickly once they find out. My brother's psycho girlfriend literally kicked my dog in my own house. And now, after the two of them asked me to move in, I told them they're not welcome in my house after that incident, sparking my brother to say that I need to let it go and that his girlfriend didn't do it on purpose, even though I literally saw her do it. So right now, I'm wondering if I'm overreacting or if I'm the jerk in this situation, because this is really blown out of proportion and I don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, to set the scene, I'm a 30-year-old male and I have a dog who I will call Charlie, who's an 8-year-old golden retriever. He's an absolute sweetheart and has been with me since I adopted him as a puppy. My brother, let's call him Dan for the sake of the story, has been dating this girl who I will call Emma for about a year now. I've met Emma a few times and to be honest, I've always had a weird vibe about her, but nonetheless, I've always tried to be polite. Now, here's where the real issue started. Dan and Emma came over to my place last weekend and we were hanging out in the living room having a good time when Charlie came over to us to say hi. He's very friendly and he loves attention, so he started wagging his tail and nudging Emma for some pets. Emma, however, seemed irritated by this and immediately pushed him away, telling him to stop being so clingy. I thought it was a bit rude, but I figured she might just have been having like a bad day or something like that, so I just brushed it off. Then later on, Charlie came over, and this time, when he tried to sit next to her, Emma literally kicked him away. I was in shock and I asked her if she was okay, and she just laughed it off and said she was getting annoyed with the dog. Now, I was furious, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I just calmly told her that she shouldn't be treating my dog like that. She seemed a bit taken aback, but I didn't think it was a huge deal at the time. Later that night, Dan and Emma told me they were looking for a place to stay, as Emma had some family issues at home, and they were hoping to move in together. Dan then asked if they could stay at my place for a while, and I said no, because frankly, I was really upset about how Emma treated Charlie. I explained that I didn't feel comfortable with her in my house after what happened. I didn't go into detail, but I made it very clear that I just wasn't okay with how she acted. Dan then got super upset and called me unreasonable, saying it's not like she kicked Charlie on purpose, and that I should just get over it. He then said I was being dramatic and that I shouldn't make an issue out of something so small. He even suggested I should put my dog outside if I didn't want Emma near him. Now, I've been called protective of my dog before, but honestly, I feel like I have every right to be upset. I've had Charlie for years and he's part of my family. I don't think I should have to choose between my dog and my brother's girlfriend, but I also don't want to create family drama. So am I the jerk in this situation for refusing to let my brother's girlfriend move in after she kicked my dog? What should I do? Bro, there's no way in a million years that lady would ever come into my house ever again. Like, first of all, I think you're absolutely underreacting. Like, this is seriously not okay. But also, the fact that Dan is trying to gaslight you and be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. She didn't even kick him on purpose. It's like, yeah, we're missing the point here. Even though you literally saw this idiot kick your dog, the fact of the matter is she still kicked him. And it's like, dude, don't kick my dog. I don't care if it's an accident or what. But the fact that he's trying to question your reality is crazy in my opinion. Like, dude, what are you talking about right now? The original poster saw with her own two eyes your girlfriend kick their dog. Like, there's no excusing that. And there's definitely no way you're gonna make me like question my own reality. Like, what's wrong with these people? So yeah, this is some crazy behavior. I seriously don't blame you for banning them from your house, because I know for a fact if I was in your shoes, I would do the exact same thing. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today, I messed up by accidentally paying for my old boss's company for literally an entire year. Here's what happened. Okay, for the past 2 weeks, I've been stressed out of my mind. I kept seeing this massive charge on my account for office supply logistics and cloud management. I'm 19 years old, I work at a boba shop, and I don't even own a printer. I was 100% sure some hacker had my information and was using my card to run a fake business. I was literally about to pay for one of those expensive identity protection services because I was too scared. I felt like my life was ruined before it even started. Well, my cousin scanned my card history and statements through an application to see how much the hacker had spent, just so we could report it to the police. But guess what? The hacker was my old internship from senior year. It turns out that when I was helping my old boss set up their supply software, the company card didn't work, and he asked me to do a one-time payment of $50 just so they could get the account verified. He promised to Venmo me back, which he did, so I thought it was completely fine. But what I didn't know was that the one-time button was actually a hidden yearly auto-pay subscription, and I doubt if he knew that as well. That day, I paid for a couple other stuff as well, and all of them were just subscriptions. I then called my old boss up, and he felt like such an idiot that he sent me $600 back immediately, plus extra for the heart attack he indirectly gave me. I was losing sleep thinking that I was the victim of a massive crime when in reality it was nothing. So please check your statements if you see weird names on it. You might not be hacked, but instead you might be spending for somebody else. Oh man, I would be very pissed off about this. This would be super frustrating. I'm one of those people that definitely checks their statements constantly because I want to avoid stuff like this. I don't want someone spending my money. And also, why would they ask you to pay for that like $50 account verification? Why not use his own card instead of one of his employees? I don't know, I just think it's a weird way to set things up, and this definitely could have been handled a lot better. My entitled cousin is finally showing her true colors in a way that honestly none of us in the family can ignore any longer. Here's what's happening. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I've been sitting on this saga for a while, but ever since I recently saw the cousin in question, I've got a lot more tea that I thought it was about time to share. So this cousin is incredibly entitled and is the youngest child of one of my uncles on my dad's side. She's about 6 months younger than my sisters, so they did a lot together growing up. We're talking sports, activities, you name it. I remember her as being a nice cousin, but never really a playmate of hers since she had my sister. Plus, I preferred one of her older sisters as my favorite cousin. But it was in high school when I started to notice that she was really changing and the entitlement really started. She seemed reserved and had some problems and didn't really have any friends. And her main problem was that she developed a nasty attitude about everything. She became short with everyone and was just downright mean, displaying several narcissistic traits, saying nasty comments about everyone around her, even her own family. And her spoiled nature started to show too. If the family wanted to go out to eat, it had to be at a place that she liked. She only wanted clothing from high-end stores. She didn't want to go to places that she hated, etc. For example, she didn't come to her brother's birthday dinner because it was a restaurant that she hated. She went to at least 3 different high schools within 2 years, and even tried to come to the high school my sister and I went to, but eventually returned to her original high school. She went off to college and her entitlement just grew from there. Because you see, her parents, thanks to my uncle, are fairly well off, especially after my uncle retired and got a very nice retirement package after the company he worked for went public. And guess what? She definitely took full advantage of that. Anything she wanted, anywhere she wanted to go, her parents paid for it, especially expensive vacations. So she's very entitled and very spoiled. Our family knows that she has some sort of like mental illness, probably like bipolar disorder, but she's never been officially diagnosed. That's also why she's never had a long-term relationship with a guy. The guys discover her entitled, crazy attitude and then leave. She basically drives them away, as her older sister once said. During one of her trips back home, my mom was visiting my aunt, and this cousin in question said some not so nice things to my mom. Now, to be clear, my mom is not a saint. That's a whole other story, trust me. But still, my cousin was out of line, and she and my mom got into a huge fight. They haven't talked to each other since and won't even acknowledge each other. Then, a few years later, my cousin and my sister got into a huge fight where words were thrown at each other. My sister has apologized, but of course my cousin hasn't, and they literally just don't talk to each other anymore. My dad and I are innocent, but my cousin refuses to acknowledge us out of association with my mom and sister. Her older siblings all think that her grudge against my family is weird and stupid. We cousins are still close to this day, but she's the odd one out. Now, I will say, she did come up to me at another cousin's wedding to congratulate me on my first baby, as I was in my 3rd trimester at the time, but then quickly walked away. And she didn't even acknowledge my dad, her dad's own brother. So yeah, it was really awkward. And it was even more awkward that she brought her boyfriend at the time to the wedding, only for them to separate a couple of months later. Well, recently, my sister gave me some more juicy drama on this entitled cousin. My sister confessed that the cousin was nasty even when they were kids before high school. Not as bad as she is now, but it was starting to show when the cousin was a kid. Snide comments, always wanting to do things her way, etc. My sister only tolerated her because, again, our dad and her dad are brothers. But by the time high school happened, my sister started to distance herself from the cousin, although she did have to let this cousin shadow her for a day when the cousin wanted to come to our high school, but then thankfully didn't, much to my sister's relief. But the biggest amount of drama was their fight that they had, where they won't speak to each other anymore. For you see, my uncle owns a condo in a very famous South Carolina town, and my sister wanted to use it for a week as a graduation present. And on this trip, she would bring along her boyfriend, who's now her husband. My aunt gave her permission to use it, so my sister assumed that she and my brother-in-law would have the place to themselves for the week. But then a few weeks later, she took my sister out to lunch, which my aunt never does. At the end of the lunch, my aunt awkwardly admits that my cousin will be at the condo the same week as my sister and my brother-in-law. Apparently, my uncle has a rule that anyone can use the condo at any time, even if there's overlap. And my God, my sister was crushed by this. Now, I don't know if my sister or my cousin had asked for that week first, so either my aunt forgot about it and realized it later, or my cousin knew my sister was going that week and still planned for it anyways. She then called my cousin up and asked if she could go another week, which would have been really easy for my cousin as she worked a remote job at the time. But my cousin literally said no. My cousin then said, "What, you just want to be alone with your boyfriend all week so you guys can do the dirty?" And holy crap, my sister was horrified by that. But then, not in her best judgment by the way, she retorted by telling my cousin that she's never been in a serious relationship, so she wouldn't know what it's like to have a devoted boyfriend. There was more fighting and eventually they stopped talking to each other. Now keep in mind the trip still happened, meaning that my sister, my brother-in-law, and my cousin were all at the condo at the same time. So yeah, it was super awkward. And like I said, my sister apologized, but my cousin absolutely didn't. And now they don't even talk to each other. Only a quick hello from my sister and a grunt from my cousin. So now my cousin's in her mid-30s, she's got no boyfriend and just has a dog, and lives out west somewhere with a small friend group, and goes on expensive trips that her parents pay for. All while her older siblings are all married with children and living happily, which she is slightly jealous of. And she refuses to interact with my family. If she ever gets married, which will be a shocker if she ever does, my dad thinks my uncle will force her to invite us just to save face. But we will all probably RSVP no, as we have accepted that she just doesn't like us. Plus, she's like a terrible human being. Now, I gotta say, I feel sorry for her. Like, I really do. And I still love her as my cousin, but she needs to acknowledge her faults if she ever wants to repair the relationships that she has broken in half. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't really see that ever happening. Okay, I know people like this in my own family, and holy crap, they are obnoxious to deal with. They always consider themselves to be right and never at fault, and yet they're the one that's literally ostracizing themselves from the entire family. And it all comes back to like them being rude and nasty and just a really miserable person to be around. So yeah, people like this suck, and I hate having to be like related to people like that because it simply makes every interaction with family so much harder. Am I the jerk for leaving the plane before the lady in front of me did? Because after I got in front of her somehow, she started getting really rude towards me, and I'm now not really sure if I'm the jerk here. Here's how it happened. Okay, so I came home last night on a flight. There was a woman in row 1 and I was in row 4, and I just come off a really lovely cruise, but for some reason, both of my legs became horribly hard, swollen, and painful. I'm disabled, and I had already requested a wheelchair on the way to my gate and from it when we landed, but I was in way more pain than normal. The plane landed, and the lady in row 1 got up and headed past me towards the back of the plane. So all I saw was her making her way backwards. I then got up after that, and I got in the aisle right after that. I mean, the airplane seat was making my pain worse. And even though I requested a wheelchair, it doesn't always mean that you'll get one before they run out. So I had to book it. Well, it turns out for some reason, the other lady's luggage was halfway down the plane, which I didn't know when I got in the aisle. She was extremely offended, got back in line only 2 people behind me, and started loudly complaining how incredibly rude some people are, with a lady to her left who agreed and just started talking crap about me the entire time. I finally had it, and I turned around and said, "I'm trying to get off the plane because I'm in severe pain, and I really need a wheelchair." But that didn't stop the passive-aggressive crap they were giving me. Those two found each other at baggage claim and kept at it, probably because they knew I was within earshot. So was I really that much of a jerk, or did I just manage to piss off a really rude Karen? Because right now I'm not sure what to make of this. Okay, in my opinion, I think there is absolutely no rule or some law about like who gets off the plane first. Like for me, if I'm in the back of the plane and I gotta get off that flight immediately, I'm not gonna sit there and be polite. I'm gonna get in line and stand up and rush to the front so I can get off the plane, dude. Like I'm sure some of you have had like connecting flights that are like, I don't know, 10 minutes later and it takes 20 minutes to get off the plane. Like, dude, I'm not missing my flight. You can either get out of my way or like, I don't know, complain about it. But guess what? I'm still gonna get off the plane. Plus, it's not like she was waiting that long, dude. She's just being rude. She clearly had nothing to say about the two people in front of her. She only picked on you because you were closest to the front. Like, that's really stupid. There's no reason for that. So yeah, I don't think you're the jerk. I think that lady's just a complete moron. And if I was in your shoes, I definitely would not let that get to me. Am I the jerk for refusing a leadership promotion at my work? All because it's way more work for a lot less money overall. Because right now, my coworkers are kind of saying that I lack ambition and that I'm making a mistake. But at this point, I seriously just don't know what to do because I don't want to make less money. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I worked at a mid-sized company and I've been here for about 3 years. And I'm currently a regular employee on a performance-based incentive structure. Basically, I have a base salary plus commissions and bonuses tied to output. If I hit my targets, I make pretty good money. And some months, I even out-earn a few of the team leads. Last week, my manager called me into a meeting and offered me a leadership promotion. On paper, it sounds great. New title, more responsibility. I'd be managing about 6 to 8 people, handling reports, approving leave requests, dealing with client escalations, and attending extra meetings. But the catch is that the pay structure changes. As a team lead, I'd get a slightly higher base salary, but I would no longer qualify for the same performance incentives I currently get. Leaders get like a small quarterly bonus, but it's capped and significantly lower than what I can earn now if I perform well. I actually did the math, and if I continue as a regular employee and keep hitting my usual targets, I will likely make more money than what I would as a leader. Plus, I would have less stress and no direct reports. When I told my manager I wasn't comfortable accepting the promotion, he looked surprised and said that I was not thinking long term. He said that leadership roles open doors for future advancement and that I should be grateful I was even considered. And now some of my coworkers are saying I'm crazy for turning it down and that people would absolutely do anything for that opportunity. One even implied that I lack ambition. But from my perspective, it feels like more workload, more accountability, more stress, and less earning potential right now. I'm not against growth, but I don't want a shiny title if it means burnout and a pay cut in disguise. So am I the jerk for refusing the promotion because financially and mentally it just doesn't make any sense for me? What should I do? Dude, I would never take this job offer. What in the world's going on right now? If you're going to be expected to do all this extra crap, why would they not keep you on the same incentive program? Like, you're already doing so much work and you're doing such a good job. Why not keep giving you those benefits and like giving you what you want? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's so stupid. Like, if I was in your shoes, I would absolutely stay as a regular employee. I wouldn't become a manager at all. That sounds like a crappy thing to do. And this is not you lacking ambition. This is you looking at your bank account and being like, yeah, I need to make rent, guys. Sorry, I'm not going to get this promotion. There's literally no reason for you to accept it, and in my opinion, I think you made the right choice. An entitled lady nearly causes multiple accidents over a 20-second wait time, all because I was letting a handicapped person out of a marked vehicle with a ramp. Because my God, I've never seen someone go this crazy in my life, and honestly, I'm still trying to get over it. Here's what happened. Okay, so my job mostly consists of driving elderly people to various appointments, with one of them being an adult day program for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. Today, I was dropping off a client at this program. It should be noted that the entryway for this place is terrible for dropping people off. There's only space for one vehicle at a time by the door with an absurdly tiny area to stop and drop people off otherwise. As usual, someone was in the normal drop-off spot, so as usual, I turned on my hazards and used the smaller one at the curb. Using the spot temporarily blocks the normal spot's exit, and I've been bringing this client here for months and everyone else is always very kind and polite and understands that it's a bad spot to have to drop off elderly, handicapped people. The wait is also never more than 30 seconds depending on the mobility of the client. However, even before my ramp can fully deploy, the person using the normal drop-off area accelerated up to me, slamming on their brakes, and then gave me one of the most exaggerated "what are you doing" gestures I've ever seen. I then gestured to my client, who by now was walking by their vehicle. My ramp was almost fully back inside by now. I mean, the process takes like 30 seconds tops, and this lady then moves to jump the curb to get around me, decides against it, and then reverses. And this is all happening very fast, and I'm panicking at this moment, thinking this lady is about to ram me. My door is closing, and I'm starting to move while she was backing off the curb. I then drive away into the parking lot doing the lot speed limit, and she accelerates out and passes me, speeding into the oncoming lane over a speed bump. I can see her rocking back and forth comically as she hits the bump, going way too fast. Then she half runs a stop sign and has to stop because she saw someone coming, turns left behind a car, then tries another insane pass on them, but then gives up on that and returns to her lane. The whole thing was incredible. As a driver, I'm used to seeing stupid moves and road rage, but this was genuinely the most insane instance I've ever seen. I cannot possibly fathom why a 20-second wait could have set this woman off in this way. Dude, I've always thought that some people just really should not be driving around if they have anger problems or if they're impatient like this, because holy crap, what are we talking about? Like, there's no way this idiot driver can't see that the original poster is absolutely dropping someone off. Like, there's a ramp coming down, they're just parking to the side, they put their hazards on, and yeah, they're blocking the way, but guess what? They're gonna be gone in like 20 seconds, if that. It's not gonna take that long, you just gotta be patient, dude. Because this lady was ready to hop the curb, bro. Like, what is going on right now? So yeah, some people really should not be driving, and this lady's a complete moron for acting like this. Today, I finally stood up to my mother by calling her out and saying she was acting like a child. Because after watching her slam the car door over and over again in a fit of rage, I called it exactly as I saw it, putting her in her place in a way I've never done in my entire life. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, I need to say I finally did it. I called my mother a child. She was acting like one, so I decided to not keep my mouth shut for once. Now, for reference, my mom was just being rude and immature like she always is, yelling at me and criticizing me just like usual. I told her that's enough, just wanting her to shut up because we were in the car. She continued, so I said it until she finally stopped. We then got home and she slammed the car door. I told her once again, that is enough. She then opened the other door just to slam it again. My response this time was to say, that's enough. You're acting so immature. You're acting like you're 5 years old. You're 10 times older than that. Act like it. She said, well, it's my car, as if that's some kind of like excuse for her actions. We get in the house and she continues slamming doors. And I snapped even more this time. I was so done. I had never said this to my mom before, but I was tired. I said to her, you're being immature. Quit it. You're my mother, not my child. Act like it. And it's here that I finally hinted at the fact that I felt like the parent. Now, of course, she went to her room, slamming the door, but I yelled that it was enough again before going to my room. I've never truly stood up to her like that, not to this extent at all, but it felt good to finally just call her out, to say the truth and call her immature. And just knowing that she has to think about that makes me feel so much better. It doesn't fix it, of course, but at least now it's in her mind that her own son's calling her a child, and hopefully that causes some kind of change. Okay, I love this because sometimes you really do just need to call people out for like acting like an idiot, and it sounds like your mom was definitely acting like a child. Like, dude, she was slamming the door over and over again. There's literally no reason for that. Like, I don't know about you, but that's really annoying. And when you're in the car, like you can feel the air pressure change when the car slams, so like it hurts your ears and it's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So you calling her out and being like, dude, you're acting like a child, like that is absolutely warranted. Because holy crap, she's in her 50s and she's acting like that. Like, bro, get a life. What are we doing right now? So good for you for standing up for yourself and for like calling your mom out, because I'm sure this was not an easy step to take. Am I the jerk for demanding that my art teacher remove my work from her Instagram account after she literally posted it without giving me credit or without my permission? Because right now I'm being made to feel like I'm crazy by pretty much everybody around me, and at this point I really just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 23-year-old male and I signed up for an evening drawing class about 2 months ago. Mostly I just wanted a hobby, something to do with my hands after work. The class is small with maybe 8 people in total, and at first the instructor seemed solid. About 3 weeks in, I noticed something weird. A friend texted me a screenshot of an Instagram post from our instructor's account. It was a photo of a still life drawing, my still life drawing. It was then posted with a caption about the beautiful work coming out of this semester's class. No name, no tag, absolutely nothing indicating who made it. I went back through her profile and I found 6 other posts with student work, different pieces, different styles, all from our class. And none of them are credited to anyone, just her account, her caption, and her hashtags. I understand that she's proud of her students or whatever, but these are our pieces of work. I spent 3 hours on that drawing, and now it's sitting on someone else's platform, building someone else's following with zero indication that I made it. I then messaged her privately and I asked her to either credit me properly or remove my work. She then responded that she always promotes student work to help them get exposure, and that apparently it's part of the class experience. But guess what? There was no mention of this anywhere in the class description or any paperwork that I signed, so she did not remove the post. Well, I then commented on it directly, asking her to credit the artist or take it down. The next class was really awkward after that. Two other students came up to me afterwards and said they actually didn't mind the post, which made me feel like I'd caused a scene over nothing. But I don't think I did. Exposure doesn't pay for the class I'm taking, and nobody asked me if I wanted my work posted anywhere. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm really pissed off and kind of confused on what to do. Okay, I'm gonna make a very firm stance here because I've got strong opinions about this, but no, you're definitely not the jerk. Artists have it so bad online already with like AI and all this other crap out there that the last thing is for some art teacher to take their work and post it online without their permission or even giving them credit. Like, what are you talking about? Like, my God, what is wrong with this lady? She has no right to do that. That is so messed up. Because if she really wanted to like promote her students' work and get them exposure, then she would properly credit them and ask for permission before they post that online, which she absolutely didn't do. Like, what is she thinking? That is so unbelievably toxic because it's not her work. It literally is not hers. And I really think she's doing this just so she can get free clout online instead of like, I don't know, putting up her own crap. Because with the way she's doing this, at a glance, it makes it seem like, oh yeah, she's the one doing all this work. She's a great art teacher of different styles and different like techniques. But in reality, she's just taking her students' work, slapping it online and getting some free likes on Instagram. Like, that's unacceptable. That is seriously unacceptable and not okay. So no, you're not the jerk for being pissed off about this. In my opinion, I would absolutely escalate this and go as far as I can. Screw your classmates, by the way. They don't know what they're talking about. They're sitting there trying to be like, well, I didn't mind my stuff being out there. But it's like, oh, okay, cool. You don't mind getting ripped off. That's fine. I do mind on the other hand, so I'm going to say something. Because your art teacher's being very selfish and very toxic, and you should not stand for that. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My neighbor is constantly staying up until 1 o'clock in the morning fighting with their partner. So I decided to get some really petty revenge by playing back to my neighbor all the noise they made the night before on a giant speaker outside their window. And honestly, it was incredibly satisfying to show them exactly how loud they're being every single night. And if I think about it, I really don't regret this for a single second. Here's how it all happened. Okay, I want to say that I had completely forgotten about this decade-plus old interaction until a conversation about loud neighbors happened today. Now, I had the misfortune of living next to those neighbors once upon a time. At least once a week, they would drink, crank loud music up, they would yell and scream, and then like clockwork start fighting at around 1 o'clock in the morning. She would be screaming at him to leave while smashing bottles on the driveway. Once he had left, she would crank up the song Man, I Feel Like a Woman, and then scream sing along with it to, I don't know, signal her newfound freedom or something like that. It was always in that order, and always when I had work the next day. I've never been one for confrontation, but I was definitely in my petty era at the time. So one night when I heard the arguing start, I recorded them out of my bedroom window, which was directly above their drinking spot of choice. A few Shania renditions later, she finally fell asleep at around 3 o'clock in the morning. So at 5:30 in the morning, when I was up and getting ready for work, I opted to skip the dog walk and instead set up the big speaker I hadn't wanted my partner to buy at the time up on the fence facing her bedroom window. I then went back inside, I locked the doors, and I hit play on the recording I had taken of her. It only took a few minutes for her to screech and be like, "What in the world is that?" and start slamming windows closed. Sadly, their mayhem didn't stop. But I always felt just a bit better that I had ruined her sleep with her own embarrassing behavior. Man, you've got to be a special type of weirdo to like not be self-aware that, yeah, I'm being a nuisance. I'm screaming until 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm making a lot of noise. I'm causing fights and causing like public disturbances all the time. So I love the fact that you like took everything she did on a recording and threw it right back at her and quite literally gave her a taste of her own medicine. Like, that is brilliant in my opinion. Because holy crap, dude, I've dealt with neighbors like this before. And I would not wish this type of person as your neighbor upon even my worst of enemies. Today, I messed up by trying to be mysterious on a first date, only to then alarm the neighbors across the street, resulting in them calling the police on me, humiliating me in the process. And if I'm being honest, this was super humiliating and I really just wish it didn't happen. Here's how it all started. So this happened about a month ago. My friends physically cringe when I tell this story in person, so I'm putting it on the internet instead. I met a woman who I will call Elaine through mutual friends. She's an interior designer, she travels, she reads books, and has opinions about wine. In contrast, I eat pasta 3 times a week, and I consider that a personality. Well, my friend then then gave me some advice. Be a little mysterious. Don't reveal everything at once. Women love mystery. Now I, a man with zero mysteries and whose most interesting hobby is watching documentaries about bridge construction, decided this was excellent advice. So we agreed to meet outside a cafe at 7. I arrived about 10 minutes early, which was completely normal. But then I thought to myself, mysterious people don't stand by the entrance like a bouncer. Mysterious people appear. So I decided to wait around the corner and emerge when she texted. Elaine then texted about 6 minutes later and said, "I'm here, where are you?" I then started walking around the corner, and at that exact moment, a woman runs out of the building opposite and screams across the street, "He's there, around the corner, I saw him." It turns out that while I was standing around the corner looking mysterious, the neighbor decided I was casing the building, and they called the police twice. I then walked out from around the corner directly into 2 police officers and Elaine standing there with her mouth open. I then explained the situation for approximately 15 minutes. One officer was taking notes and the other was trying not to laugh and visibly losing it. The neighbor stood nearby watching me with absolute righteous fury, but Elaine said nothing. Then the officer said to me, "So you were just waiting for a date around the corner to be mysterious?" To which I said yes to every single one of those questions. Meanwhile, the second officer laughed out loud in uniform on duty. We were then let go and the neighbor goes home unsatisfied, with Elaine and I standing on the sidewalk. She then looks at me and says, "Well, you're definitely mysterious." So we went to the cafe and I told her about bridge construction documentaries. She listened for 40 minutes and actually asked me questions. And guess what? I've got a third date set up on Thursday. The neighbor still eyes me suspiciously every time I walk past, and I nod at her, but she definitely does not nod back. I hope the officer who laughed is doing well because, man, this is a situation I will never forget. Yeah, that's like the definition of I'm never gonna live this down for the rest of my life. Especially if you end up getting married to Elaine. Like, I'm sure in hindsight this will be really funny a few years down the line, but holy crap, I would be in shambles if this happened to me. So yeah, this is a funny story, and honestly, I'm glad it kind of worked out where you're getting a third date with Elaine, because from the sounds of it, she sounds pretty cool. My entitled mother-in-law gets upset that I don't get her a glass of water, despite the fact that I was exhausted after literally recovering from cancer, putting her in a situation where she realized very quickly how rude she was being, which gave me and the rest of the family a really good laugh. Here's what happened. Okay, so it just hit me today that this is a great story from my slightly eccentric mother-in-law that others might enjoy. So rewind to this past Thanksgiving. My husband and I are hosting, and my mother-in-law in this situation is the kitchen maestro, with my sister-in-law and myself being her orchestra. She points and we go. So all 3 of us are kind of running around like headless chickens for a couple of hours. A couple of summers ago, my mother-in-law was here for a full week and a half to house sit and to dog sit when we were on vacation. She comes over every couple of months to cook my husband his favorite cultural meals with our help, and my mother-in-law is a kitchen wizard, so she plays maestro at every big family meal while the rest of us are running around doing as we're told. I mention all of this because it illustrates that my mother-in-law is very comfortable in our house. My husband and I host most major family events because we have the space, and our house is open concept and good for hosting. We're also out in the country and everyone else is in a big city, and they always ask us to host because they like the escape to the peace and quiet out here. In short, my house is your house. Anyways, back to Thanksgiving. Finally, dinner is done. Everyone is peacefully doing their own thing. My mother-in-law's at the dining table playing Candy Crush, and my husband and I are relaxing in the living room, sprawled out on couches and chairs. My sister-in-law is in the kitchen making herself a tea, and my nephews and my brother-in-law are glued to their phones. My mother-in-law then raises her empty glass in the air, calls out my name and says, "Hello, I'm thirsty," and starts shaking her glass in the air. Now, another side note. At this time, I had just completed cancer treatment less than a month before. For the previous 10 months leading up to Thanksgiving, I'd had 6 months of intense chemo, a not-so-minor surgery, and then daily radiation for 3 weeks. I had been declared cancer-free or no evidence of disease, as they like to say, but I was struggling from treatment side effects. I had had to take breaks while cooking dinner because just being on my feet for extended periods was leaving me weak and shaky. And you know what? My mother-in-law knew about all of this. So while yes, I am young, I'm also not healthy at the time, and there were like 5 other adults in the room that she could have asked. Or, you know, she could have just gotten it herself. Some people may say that I'm a bad host for this, but honestly, I kind of feel bad for people who don't open their homes to their family to the point that immediate family feels like they have to ask someone else to get them a drink. And I hope that most people reading this will realize that that's not what's happening here. My mother-in-law had no issue taking over my kitchen when it suited her, to direct my sister-in-law and myself around at her whim, which by the way, I have zero complaints about that. But what I do have complaints about is pretending as though you can't make yourself a drink drink after that cooking performance. My first reaction was a bewildered what? While my sister-in-law shouts, "Mom, what are you doing?" My mother-in-law then says, "Well, as the woman of this house, you should get up and get me a drink." And my God, you could hear a pin drop. I finally started laughing. I stayed right where I was, and I said, "Your son can get up and get you a drink." Now her son, who's my husband, also started laughing and tells her to get up and get it herself because he knows his mom well enough that it only took one sentence and he was already sick of her crap already. My sister-in-law ended up getting the drink for her while also telling my mother-in-law how rude she was. My mother-in-law then spent the rest of the evening and night passive-aggressively whining about how everyone said I'm mean. I mean, I've never been called mean before. I don't know what I did. I don't understand. And we would explain over and over again, but she just kept repeating the same thing again. She kept apologizing to me while I would just laugh and tell her that I'm not mad, and telling her that we never called her mean, and that rude and mean are not the same thing. But the circle would start all over again, with her complaining that she just didn't understand. So needless to say, it was an entertaining night. My mother-in-law somehow manages to make almost every get-together entertaining in some way, and this situation was absolutely that. Okay, I love the way you handle this, and I love the fact that you just kind of let this roll off your back in a way, because dude, your mother-in-law is completely stupid for acting like that. And yeah, she's being very rude and just inconsiderate. I mean, here you are fresh off a cancer diagnosis being like, okay, I'm cancer-free and I'm gonna relax with my family. And then she shakes her glass and says, "I'm thirsty, slave. Please go get me something right now." And it's like, dude, what are we doing? Go get it yourself. This is crazy. Just because you're hosting Thanksgiving doesn't mean that you have to get everybody a drink, especially your mother-in-law who, guess what, doesn't have to deal with cancer right now. So yeah, this was a really nasty situation. I think you handled it way better than I would have, because I think I would have exploded on her for being so inconsiderate if I was in your shoes. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to a family reunion? As my parents are always sucked into becoming an unpaid event staff for the family. Because even though everyone's saying that it's not that big of a deal, I still feel like it's not fair. And right now I don't know if I crossed the line or not. Here's what's going on. I'm a 25-year-old female and I come from a big extended family that does an annual reunion. Think rented lake house, big Airbnb, Costco runs, matching t-shirts, cornhole tournaments, beer coolers, the works. It looks wholesome in pictures, but every single year, my parents somehow become the unpaid operations team. The second we show up, my mom gets absorbed into the kitchen. Not in a cute, oh, let's cook together way. More like, you're so organized, you can handle the food, right? Then pretty soon she's restocking chips and slicing watermelon, refilling trays, making sure the kids have plates, etc. Meanwhile, everyone else is on the dock or cracking White Claws. Also, my dad gets defaulted into the guy who handles things. Grilling for hours, setting up folding tables, dragging coolers, taking trash out, fixing the wobbly chair. No one directly assigns him, they just hand him problems and then walk away. Last year, my mom didn't sit down once until 8 o'clock p.m. In fact, she ate standing at the counter. My dad missed half the games because he was outside cleaning the grill, but on Instagram, it was always, "Oh, we're so grateful for family" in the captions. What really rubbed me the wrong way was hearing one of my aunts say, "Oh, it's great when they come. They're so helpful," and not, "Oh, we love having them," just that they're helpful. This year, the planning text thread already has comments like, "We won't need to worry about food if your mom's there," and honestly, I just felt done with it. So I told my parents I don't want to go if it's going to be the same dynamic. I said I'm not driving us 3 hours just to watch them work the entire weekend while everyone else gets to relax. If they really want to go, I won't physically stop them, but I am not supporting it. But now some relatives think that I'm being dramatic and that everyone pitches in, except somehow it's consistently my parents pitching in the most. My mom says she doesn't mind and that it keeps her busy, and my dad shrugs and says it's no big deal, but they're exhausted every single time. I feel guilty because maybe this is just some normal family stuff, but I'm tired of seeing them treated like the automatic cleanup crew instead of an actual guest. So am I the jerk for putting my foot down? Because this is really exhausting to watch. Okay, in my opinion, I think you're doing the right thing by standing up for your parents, because from the sound of it, it doesn't really seem like they're doing that for themselves. Sure, this might be some kind of family dynamic, but I would argue it's not a healthy one, and it's certainly not the dynamic that anyone wants to see. What's going on right now? Your aunt even admitted "Oh yeah, things are easier when they're here," as if she's implying that yeah, it's better that you're here because then I don't have to work. And that is something that you're clearly the only one that's picking up on, and I would go nuts if that was me. So no, you're not the jerk for putting your foot down and standing up up for them. It really sucks that they don't see it, but like, dude, you're doing everything you can to make sure they're taken care of. Because I totally agree. It sounds like your extended family is taking advantage of them, and if I was in your shoes, I would also be really pissed off to see that. Am I the jerk for suggesting my recent ex-girlfriend not attend a friend's wedding as my +1 after she broke up with me in a way that really hurt? Because right now I'm not sure if I'm being immature or if I'm crossing a line, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what's currently going on. So my girlfriend and I recently broke up, and we were in a 5-year relationship. We had our ups and downs and always seemed to work things out, but she recently ended things permanently. I had tried to talk to her about it, but she was adamant on ending things this time. Now, I've been in a difficult spot emotionally. I love this girl a lot, and during our relationship, I introduced her to a lot of my friends whom she became friends with. One of my friends is getting married in a few months, and we had our invitations months ago when we were still together, and she was invited as my +1. Now, here's where things get a bit complicated. About a week after we broke up, she was with another guy. It wasn't like she tried to spare me and hide it either. She was posting him on social media. I unfortunately saw this, as did our mutual friends, and it was super embarrassing for me, and it hurt a lot. I don't know how someone can do that to someone they say they love, or loved, I guess. I told her that she needed to reach out and let them know if she would be attending, and she was actually asked to attend. My buddy who's getting married reached out and let me know that it's totally up to me, and he would support my decision on it either way. So honestly, am I the jerk for not wanting her to show up to this wedding? I mean, why would I want to do that to myself? I honestly don't even know why she would want to attend in the first place. Like, am I being immature here? What should I do? No, I would absolutely not let her show up. Maybe I'm just mean, but like, screw that. She literally cheated on you and then broke up with you. That's really what's going on here. She wanted to end things permanently because she found somebody else and she was like seeing him behind your back, obviously. At least that's my opinion on the matter. Like, I just don't think she had good intentions at all. And for that reason alone, I would be like, yeah, I'm not gonna allow you to be my +1. And I would tell my buddy like, dude, I do not want her there. Just look at the way she treated you. Like, that's not fair at all. So no, you're not the jerk, and honestly, I think you would be completely justified. Am I the jerk for not lending my sister's boyfriend $800, all because he's behind on a car payment that he can't pay for? Because once I said no, my sister lost her mind, essentially complaining that I'm gonna be the reason they get evicted, as well as just bad-mouthing me to other people in my family, which has put me in a situation that I really don't like. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I'm a 28-year-old female and I live on my own. I work full-time, but like a lot of people right now, things are really tight. Rent just went up, my car insurance increased, and I've been trying to stay on top of my credit card debt from some unexpected medical expenses earlier this year. Now, I'm not broke, but I'm definitely budgeting very carefully. Now, my sister's been dating her boyfriend for about a year now. He's nice enough, but he's not the most financially responsible person in the world. He changes jobs a lot and tends to spend pretty freely when he does have the money. I've also noticed that when they go out, she often pays because apparently he'll get the next one, but that next one doesn't always come. Last week, she called me asking if I could lend her boyfriend $800 because he's behind on his car payment and was short on rent. She said it would only be for a couple of weeks until his next paycheck. I then asked a few questions, and it turns out he had picked up fewer shifts last month and also spent money on concert tickets and some new gaming stuff. I then told her I wasn't comfortable lending that much money right now. I explained that I have my own bills due, and I've been trying to rebuild my savings. I also said that I don't really feel okay in lending money to someone I'm not super close to, especially that amount. When I said this, she got really upset and said I was being selfish and that I need to help out family. But I told her I would understand that argument if she needed the money for an emergency, but this felt like bailing out her boyfriend from poor planning. She then said I was judging him and acting like I think I'm better than them simply because I manage my money differently. And you know what? Now she's barely talking to me. She told our mom that I refused to help when they were about to lose their apartment, which feels exaggerated because from what she told me, they were just short and not about to get evicted tomorrow. My mom thinks that I should have at least tried to help out with something, even like a smaller amount, just to try and prevent this kind of blow up. But right now I do feel bad because I technically could move some money around and make it work, but it would put me in a stressful spot. At the same time, I feel like it's not my responsibility to fix her boyfriend's financial mistakes. So honestly, I really need to know, am I the jerk for saying no? Because this situation is really upsetting. Okay, if I was in your shoes, I would not feel bad about this at all. It is not your fault that your sister is with someone who is financially irresponsible. Like seriously, how is this your fault at all? You should not be expected to be responsible for his car payment when you've got your own stuff to figure out. Like this is absolutely not okay to ask for. And you put it best, like this is a boyfriend you don't really know that well, you're not super close to, so giving him money is kind of weird. Like I know for a fact I would feel weird if one of my siblings said, hey, my boyfriend needs money, can you give it to him? And if I wasn't close to them, I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry, that's not something in my wheelhouse. You're gonna have to look in a different direction because I'm kind of poor and I don't want to be more poor for someone I don't know that well. So basically, you're not the jerk. You're definitely not at fault here. I think anyone trying to be like, wow, you could have helped out just a little bit, they're obviously not involved in the situation, because if they really felt that way, then they could step up and pay some money instead of trying to force you to do it. Because no, this is absolutely not your problem, and I think if anything, your sister's overreacting in a way that's not fair. My psycho entitled cousin commits fraud by literally using my card number without asking me first to pay for her vacation rental that she wanted to reserve. And despite the fact that she didn't even ask me first, I now have a $1,500 charge on my credit card that I have to deal with on top of my own bills, as my cousin literally doesn't see any problem with this, despite the fact that I lost my mind on her when I found this on my statement. Here's what happened. Okay, so last summer, my cousin needed to book a flight for a job interview, and her bank account was being weird. I think there was some hold on her debit card or something like that. She then asked if she could use my credit card and she would send me the money right away. And you know what? I said sure. She paid me back the next day and there was no issues and no drama. But that was supposed to be a one-time thing. Fast forward to about a month ago and I get an alert on my phone for a charge of $1,500 for some vacation rental site. My heart dropped because I thought someone stole my card information. I started going through the charge details and that's when I saw her name in the booking confirmation. I then called her immediately, like, what in the world is this? And it was here that she was so casual about her response. She said she found this beach house for her anniversary trip and they needed a card on file right away to hold the reservation, and she didn't want to lose the date, so she just used mine, without calling me or texting me or even asking. She just typed in my card number from whenever she saved it last year. She said she would pay me back when she gets her bonus in a few weeks, but it's like, dude, a few weeks? So now $1,500 is just floating on my credit card for weeks while I have my own bills. I told her that's not how this works, but she said I was overreacting and that she'd literally just used it before and paid me back, so what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is I said yes the last time. This time she just helped herself. So I called the bank and disputed the charge, and they reversed it. And eventually the rental company contacted her saying the payment didn't go through and they were releasing the reservation. I then told her using someone else's card without permission is fraud. I don't care if we're related. But once I said that, she went quiet and then hung up on me. So am I the jerk for disputing this? Like, am I really at fault for putting my foot down about this situation? Because right now I don't know what else to do. Holy crap, this is so sketchy. You mean to tell me that she saved your card information for a year, waiting for the right time to use it again? My God, if I was in your shoes, I would go through my entire bank statement. I would be like, holy crap, did I actually buy this, or did my cousin scam me out of money here and there? Because I would not trust a single thing on that statement. I'd be like, okay, I either need receipts, otherwise I'm gonna have to dispute this and figure this out. Holy crap, this is so unbelievably dishonest. Why would she save that for a year? That is so weird. I don't care who you are. If someone's giving you a leg up and helping you out, the least you can do is have some semblance of privacy towards their information. I'm kind of starting to understand why they had a hold on their debit card, because I'm willing to bet she probably did this before at some point in her life, or she's just super corrupt and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna save this for a year, 365 days for the right moment. Thanks for the $1,500. Oh my God. So I really hope the original poster definitely never trust them ever again, because this cousin is very clearly untrustworthy, because what they did was completely unacceptable. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for expecting a girl to get off a treadmill at the gym who literally was just standing there and not using it? Because after I asked her to move, her mom got involved and pretty much chewed me out for saying anything about this. And at this point, I'm not sure if I made a mistake or if I crossed a line somewhere. Here's what's going on. Okay, so the gym I go to doesn't really have a lot of treadmills, and I've recently started running. I went to the gym with my partner last night and all the treadmills were in use. So I used some weight machines to start, then went back to the treadmills. I then noticed there was a girl just sat on the treadmill while her friend was using the treadmill next to her. She had been there for at least 15 minutes not using it, so I went up and I asked if she was planning on using it. She said that she was with her friend, but I said to her, well, can you sit next to your friend's machine instead of taking up machines from people who want to use them? But when I said that, she just shrugged her shoulders and refused to move. Then a woman comes over and asks what's going on, and I explain it. She said she's the girl's mother and that I shouldn't be telling her daughter to move. But I just said her daughter shouldn't be taking up machines that she has no intention of using. She then said that her daughter is more more than allowed to sit there if she wants to, and that she's doing nothing wrong. But I just said, well, I can see exactly where her daughter gets the entitlement from. She then said that I was out of order for commenting on her parenting, but I just said that she should be a better parent if she can't handle any criticism. A member of staff then came over, and when I explained what was going on, they actually asked the daughter to move off the treadmill or leave the gym. My girlfriend says that maybe I shouldn't have argued with the mother, but I seriously don't see how I've done anything wrong. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. No, I don't think you're the jerk. I think you absolutely had every right to be like, hey, either use it or lose it. Because dude, especially this time of year, everybody's going back to the gym, so obviously machines are going to be in use, and it's like, dude, I need to use it. I shouldn't have to sit there and wait while you just chat away with your friend. Stand next to him. Don't take up one of the machines if you're not using it, because that, in my opinion, is super annoying and very entitled. An airline cleaner stole my AirPods after I left them on the plane, and so now I'm getting some petty revenge by slowly trying to make them go deaf by playing a really loud sound through an application anytime they put my AirPods on. Here's what happened. About 6 months ago, I had a layover in Houston. After deplaning and going through security, I realized that my headphones had fallen out of my pocket. I then submitted the lost item claim with United and gave the description of the color of the silicone case they had on them, as well as the plane info, the seat number, the whole thing. I also set it to lost mode and included my phone number to call me. I emailed United a few times, stating that I could see they had moved from the plane to what seemed to be the United office space, but I now realize it was probably employee lockers. After about 24 hours, I saw them go to an apartment building. I watched them go from the apartment building to the airport, back and forth, and tracked the schedule specifically. I gave United the address of the employee, their schedule, and what days they had worked. Surely the home address and schedule was enough to pinpoint who it was, so they could at least deal with it internally, and I wasn't exactly excited to get the AirPods back if they had been wearing them. United then told me that the AirPods had left the property and that they wouldn't do anything, and that I had to file a police report with the Houston Police Department. For reference, I live in Arizona, so they just closed my claim. Now, I use the Find My Device application a lot for various AirTags and stuff like that. So for the last few months, whenever I see my lost headphones with the earbuds out, I hit play sound on the earbud and I blast the wearer's ears completely out, and I then quickly see them go back into the case. If they would have called me when they found them, I happily would have sent them a reward, even enough to buy their own basic pair. I understand they are expensive and not everyone can swing a pair, but you know what? I'm slowly working towards making them go deaf. That way no one else loses a set of headphones to them, and I think this is the pettiest thing I've ever done and probably the only thing I can do. Oh man, that really sucks. Are you serious right now? If I lost a pair of AirPods, I would be so pissed. Bro, you've got to be kidding me. Those are expensive. It just goes to show you that you've got to be careful with your property, because who knows who's gonna pick it up and take it from you. But I love the fact that you're basically trying to make them go deaf any chance that you get, because you know what? A twisted part of me is yeah, they kind of deserve that, because this is such a toxic thing to do. So hopefully in some universe you get your AirPods back and you're able to at least recoup some of the cost of losing it, because the fact that United did not even go any further, in my opinion, is not surprising, but it's also very frustrating because you do not deserve this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my sister-in-law's baby shower, all because of the way she talked to me and my mother when I was pregnant? Because now literally every woman in the family is following my example by not showing up, putting me in a predicament where I really just don't know what to do now. Here's what's happening. Okay, so this started as soon as my brother married a woman who I will call Ruby for the sake of the story. At the time, everyone seemed to really like her, and my older sister and I were part of her bridal party. Her wedding was around 5 years ago. Pretty soon, they were talking about trying to have kids, and they were struggling with infertility issues. Ruby was quite upset, but it got a lot worse when my older sister got pregnant. Ruby was snappish and mean to my older sister, and people tried to be mindful since she was struggling. But when the baby was born, Ruby didn't send anything. Well, fast forward and I got pregnant my senior year of college. It was a surprise baby, and I only told my mom because I was unsure what to do. I was a heavy drinker at family events, and when I wasn't drinking, my grandma joked that I must be pregnant, and you know what? My face gave it away. And that's literally how it came out. I didn't plan to tell the family like that. Well, Ruby, in short, lost it on me. She yelled at me about how I don't deserve a kid and called me a lot of terrible names. My mom tried to make her stop, but she yelled at her as well and told my mom that she deserved the stillbirth that she had. I mean, the whole thing was just horrible. When I gave birth, I posted pictures online, and Ruby actually made a post online saying that some people don't deserve kids. And no, she has not apologized for this. Now, here's the real issue. Ruby is now pregnant and she's having her baby shower, and all the women in the family got an invite. I talked to my mom about it, and you know what? I decided not to go. My mom is also not going, and everyone seems to be following my lead on this. this. We all RSVP'd no, and my brother called me asking to please just come to the shower. But I told him no, and it started an argument. He says his wife has been crying about being hated by the family and just wants everyone to make up. But I told him that isn't my problem, and this is literally her fault. He wants me to suck it up and come anyways, and has texted me multiple times about it. But I know if I don't go, no one else will. Especially my mother. I mean, she hates Ruby after that argument. And just in case people are wondering, no, we probably won't have a relationship with the baby if nothing changes. I already don't allow my kid near her in the first place, and I have a very strict if you're a jerk to me, you don't get access to my kids policy. My mom will probably not be a grandparent to the child either, because she will not put up with someone that she hates just to have access to a kid. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, Ruby sounds like a nightmare. I hate people like this, dude. They're the worst people to deal with, especially when you're related to them. Like, bro, all you had to do was not be a psychopath about other people having children, and you would have people at your baby shower. But Ruby is literally reaping the rewards of her bad karma she put out into the universe. If Ruby doesn't want to be hated in the family and wants everybody to make up, then guess what, Ruby? You gotta be the one to do it. You've gotta be the one to step up and be like, I'm sorry for what I said. I'm a terrible person for saying that. Please forgive me and show up. Like, let's be a family again, please. Or something like that. Like, she's got to be the one to extend the olive branch, in my opinion. Because this is some crazy behavior. Does she really expect the mom and the original poster to show up after the terrible things that she said about them? Oh, I'm glad you had a stillbirth. Oh, and by the way, you shouldn't have kids. Like, she really needs to apologize for this. Like, this is so weird. So no, you're not the jerk for not wanting to show up to this. I think it's important to cut toxic people out of your life, especially ones who are like irrational and expecting you to wallow through their crap when they refuse to clean it up themselves. That is very unfair and something I would personally refuse to deal with. My brother used to be the most obnoxious Call of Duty player on planet Earth, as he would scream and shout at all hours of the night if he did poorly in the game, which as a result would keep me up all night. So I decided to get some petty revenge by quite literally disrupting his gameplay by booting him offline through the Wi-Fi router, just in some kind of desperate effort for me to get some sleep. Here's how I did it. Okay, so back in the day when I lived at my family's home, my younger brother was addicted to playing Call of Duty and was one of those teenagers that would take it way too seriously. My bedroom was downstairs and his was above mine. And when he would lose or get taken out in a way he decided was unfair, he would shout down his headset and slam his feet onto the ground, which shook my entire bedroom. And guess what? This would go on until early hours of the morning, despite me asking him time and time again to please keep it down. It got to the point where I was exhausted all the time after being constantly woken up. I even recall this happening until 3 in the morning of a job interview, which I subsequently failed as I couldn't even think straight. He was a bit of a psycho in those days, and so he wouldn't really care if he was keeping me up or not. If I did anything by force, like switch his PlayStation off or whatever, then he'd likely retaliate far more severely. So I needed to find a way to make sure it seemed like it wasn't me. It would be too obvious if I turned the entire router off and on, as it takes time to reestablish itself. So I opted to log into our router settings via my phone and would change the password to something else, then change it right back again. This would automatically boot off everything on the network for just a moment and then reconnect. And you know what? It was perfect. If he got too loud, then I could just boot him off the game and it would look like an outage or a server issue in game. Then I would let him start another game and would repeat the process until he eventually got fed up with it and finally just turned it off. I think it also created a Pavlov's dog response in him to not get so angry at it, or else it would mysteriously disconnect. Oh, and by the way, he never caught on to it being me, though he did comment on how much better the Wi-Fi has been ever since I moved out. But you know what? I just lied to him by saying, well, I guess it must be because it's using less bandwidth. But between you and me, we both know the real answer for this issue. Okay, I love this because, man, I know people like this and they are obnoxious to be around. They're the kind of people who think they're going to go pro in Call of Duty or any other game, which then makes them the most intense and obnoxious people to play with, which also subsequently is like, okay, I don't want to play with this person. They're taking this way too seriously. They're sucking the fun out of the room. This sucks. So yeah, I think this was some much needed revenge against your brother because he was being obnoxious, and I don't blame you for getting back at him. Am I the jerk for telling my uncle that I don't want to be like his kids after he criticized the way my adoptive mom is raising me? Because right now he is really pissed off and I'm not sure if I crossed the line. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of backstory, my mom passed away when I was little. She had been sick for a while, and before she died, she set everything up so I would go to her best friend, who I will call Katie for the sake of the story. My uncle, who I will call Nick, fought for custody of me after my mom passed away because he thought I should be with family. Katie has custody of me and adopted me,
family, but I spend one weekend a month with Nick and his family, although lately it's been a little less because of competitions. Visits to Nick's house are not court-ordered. Katie just wants me to have a connection with my biological family. Nick and Katie are very different people. Katie and her husband are both doctors, whereas Nick is a cop and his wife is a preschool teacher. I've been in private school my entire life, and my school is about 2 years ahead of the local public schools, which are also some of the best in the area and are ahead of the public schools in other areas. Nick and his wife homeschool their kids mostly for political reasons. I do competitive cheerleading through my school, and I do competitive dance through a studio. I also play piano, I used to do the clarinet, but I just quit to have more time for cheer. Nick's kids go to the church youth group and youth choir and don't really do any other activities. Katie also makes me earn my allowance. I have to work, and she'll match whatever I make at the end of the month, and Nick just gives his kids money whenever. I was at Nick's house last weekend, and he was doing his usual thing where he talks crap about Katie and her parenting and how I never have any free time, which is not true, because he says that I'm always doing homework, or I'm at dance, or at cheerleading, or working, and how his kids actually get to be kids because they only do 2 to 3 hours of school a day and don't have to worry about competitions or maintaining a good GPA. He said something like, "Wouldn't it be nice to slow down and get to be a kid like my kids are?" I then told him that I like my life the way it is, and I wouldn't want to be like his kids. I'm going to start dual enrollment college classes next year, and I don't know if his kids are even going to be able to go to college, considering my 10-year-old cousin still can't multiply single-digit numbers, and my 14-year-old cousin is technically a grade above me, but she can't solve simple linear equations. Plus, they don't have any hobbies. Every time I come over, we just go to the mall and look around and watch movies at their house and eat a lot of fast food. He then got pissed off at me because apparently I have no right to criticize his parenting and I'm insulting his kids. So he ended up calling Katie and told her to pick me up early because he says I'm a spoiled, entitled brat that thinks I'm better than them. Katie thinks I should have just smiled and nodded and that I went a little bit too far. So we've decided it'll be best if I don't go to their house for a while, but I'm starting to feel bad because I did kind of call my cousin stupid. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, first of all, no, I don't think you're the jerk at all because, dude, your uncle absolutely started it. Because let me get this straight, he's allowed to criticize Katie, but the second you try to criticize his kids and his parenting, suddenly you've crossed the line? Like, what's going on right now? This is so stupid. Like, you're clearly excelling in life, you're doing really well, you're about to start college at a really early age, and he's trying to be like, wow, don't you want to be a kid right now? But in my opinion, it kind of sounds like you're happy doing what you're doing. Like, why not go full steam ahead and just go for it? Just because his children are going at a snail's pace doesn't mean you have to be held back. Like, go for it. And I just hate the way that Nick acted towards this. Like, this seems like so over the top. If anything, he's probably projecting and being like, oh wow, she's right, but I can't say that she's right, otherwise I'm gonna look weak. And don't get me wrong, this is not a shot at any kid that's been homeschooled. There are plenty of people out there who are active, working professionals who didn't go to like a public school and just went to school at home, who are just as intelligent as anybody else. But if the parents aren't like really pushing their kids to learn and like do more, then guess what? They're probably not gonna want to do anything. So no, overall, I don't think you're the jerk at all. You didn't do anything wrong. You just responded to his weird remarks, and he clearly didn't like that, and that, in my opinion, is his problem and not yours. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my roommate host her wedding at our shared apartment? Because right now she's saying that I'm being selfish by saying no, and at this point I don't know what to do. Okay, for starters, I'm 22 years old and I live with my roommate, who I will call Jess for the sake of the story. We've been sharing an apartment for about a year, and it's been mostly smooth sailing. However, things recently took a turn when Jess asked if she could host her wedding at our apartment in 2 months. To give some context, our apartment is a small 2-bedroom unit in a nice part of town, but it's definitely not big enough for a wedding. The place is cozy, but cozy doesn't exactly translate to wedding venue. When Jess first brought it up, I thought she was joking, but she was serious. She wants to have a small, intimate ceremony and a reception at the apartment. She said it would save money, and she assured me that she'd handle everything: the decorations, the catering, the cleaning, etc. Now, I immediately felt uncomfortable with the idea. While I understand that weddings can be expensive, I just didn't think it was a good idea to hold such a big event in our shared space. So I told Jess that I just didn't feel comfortable with it, mostly because of the space issue, but also because I just didn't want to have strangers in my home all day. We have some nice neighbors, and I didn't want to risk noise complaints or ruining the vibe of the apartment, especially since it's such a tight-knit community. When I said this, Jess got upset. She said that I was being selfish and that it wasn't like I would be hosting the wedding. She would be doing everything. But the reality is, the space is still shared, and I'm the one who will have to live with the aftermath, like cleaning up, extra traffic in the building, and just the general disruption. She even mentioned that she would pay me for my trouble, but honestly, I don't think money solves the discomfort of having such a personal event in our shared space. I suggested other options like renting a small venue, but Jess insists that that's too expensive. She's also saying that I'm not being supportive
supportive of her wedding plans, and that's making me feel really bad. But at the same time, I still feel like it's a lot to ask of someone to let them turn your home into a wedding venue. So, am I the jerk for refusing to let my roommate host her wedding at our apartment? Should I just suck it up and let her do it? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, this is a crazy ask in my opinion. What the crap is going on? This is like absolutely not okay in my opinion. I can understand trying to like, I don't know, save money on like a wedding venue, but doing this at your apartment seems really stupid. Like sure, someone's done it before and I'm sure other people have made it work, but if she was the only one living there, then sure, go for it. Have a wedding at your own apartment. That would be fantastic. But the fact that she's calling you selfish when you're like, I really don't feel comfortable with this, that's really an inconsiderate thing to say because in my opinion, the entire concept really should hinge on whether you're okay with it or not. And not just because Jess is like, oh, I want to save money. Like, I'm sure there's some local venue you could get married at and still have a great time, and it probably would not even cost that much. So yeah, your roommate is the jerk, and I don't think he did anything wrong. My entitled mom called up my university in some kind of effort to force me to change my major, as she tried to convince everybody that I was emotionally unstable and I needed help getting back on track. And right now, I'm honestly so horrified and embarrassed by the way she did this, putting me in a situation where I really just don't know what to do now. Here's basically what she did. I'm a 21-year-old female, a junior in college, and I'm currently living on campus. My mom has always been the kind of parent who treats my life like a group project she's leading. When I picked my major, which is psychology, she put on a smile and said that she was supportive, but she never stopped making little digs, saying stuff like, so you're just gonna be poor? That's not a real career. And I usually just ignore it. But last week I got an email from my academic advisor asking if I could stop by because there was some confusion about my course plan. Now I go in thinking that it's about a prerequisite or something like that, but no, my advisor says my mom called the department office and left a voicemail about how I'm lost and emotionally unstable, and that I was changing majors to something useless and needed help getting back on track. She also asked if they could send her my grades because she pays for everything, even though she definitely doesn't. Like, I have my own loans and a part-time job. My advisor looked uncomfortable and basically told me they shut her down, but they wanted to make sure that I'm safe and not being forced into anything I don't want to do. And honestly, at that moment, I wanted to melt into the carpet. Like, just imagine your mom pitching you as a crisis case to your school. I called my mom afterwards and I asked what in the world she was thinking, but she just immediately went into this calm voice that she always uses when she's trying to like sound reasonable and said to me that she was just advocating for me. Then she admitted that she also emailed one of my professors to ask why I got a B on a paper because she said, oh, I know you're smarter than that. I then told her that she crossed a massive line and I'm an adult. At this point, she started crying and said I'm ungrateful and that she's the only person who actually cares about my future. She then tried to flip it on me, saying my advisor probably thinks she's a bad mother now and that I should call them to clarify that she meant well. When I said no, she then got sharp with me and said that if I keep pushing her away, then I shouldn't come to her crying when I fail out. If I'm being completely honest, I haven't slept right since. Part of me feels guilty because she is convinced that she's helping, but I also feel like she tried to take control of my life by embarrassing me into compliance. So am I wrong for telling her she's on an information diet from now on? Because right now I'm very frustrated. Okay, this is so unbelievably gross, I just can't even begin to describe it. Your mom actually called up your school and said, yeah, she's crazy. She's going through it right now. She's emotionally unstable and just completely lost. She needs some help. And it's like, dude, all I'm doing is majoring in psychology, which by the way is not a bad major. You could do a lot with that. So for your mom to sit there and be like, oh wow, you're not going to do anything. That's a useless degree. It's like, okay, whatever, dude. So I think you handled this really well. And I think you shutting her down and being like, no, you can't do that to me. I think that was the right move. And I think it really was important to do that. Boundaries like that are super important. Like there's nothing wrong with putting your foot down and telling people, no, you're not going to talk to me like that. Because your mom's completely out of line. Like it's unacceptable. So yeah, your mom sucks and you are completely in the right. And I think she absolutely deserved to get shut down. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. I just found out that my boyfriend has been lying to me for like 10 years about his finances. And at this point, I feel very betrayed as I was planning on getting a home, but now it feels like all my plans have just shattered in front of me. Here's what's happening. Okay, for starters, we've been together for almost 10 years. Throughout our entire relationship, saving money has been extremely important to me because I've always had the goal of buying a home before 30. I've been disciplined and consistent with saving, and over time I built up a solid amount of money. He's also been working and saving as well, supposedly. But just now that I've finally found a perfect place that I want to buy, I've discovered that he has no savings at all. Every time I've asked him over the years whether he had saved a certain amount or not, he assured me that he had plenty in the bank. He never wanted to show me his bank accounts, but told me that I have to just trust him. He has now admitted that he gambled away large portions of what he earned over the years, which was like a few years ago, and even had to borrow money from family, which left him in debt to them. At this point, he has almost nothing left, but he did tell me that he has no more debt, and I do believe that. For years, I've been living with a false sense of security, and because of this, I can't take out a mortgage with him, and all the plans and dreams I had about buying a home together feel like they've completely fallen apart. I'm a student, and I don't earn much now, but he has no higher education because he chose to just work and earn money. And this isn't the only thing he has lied about. It turns out there have been several other lies over the past few years as well. He just now admitted everything, every single lie, just because he had no excuse for not buying this home. I'm so mad at him. I mean, how do you even get through something like this? I don't want to end the relationship, but I also don't know what to do. Okay, holy crap, I gotta be completely honest with you. If you believe him when he said, oh yeah, I don't have any more debt, I really just don't know what to tell you because he is playing you for a fool, dude. This guy's completely full of it. There's no way in the world he's telling the truth. Like seriously, we need to get a grip on reality and see what's actually going on right now. So yeah, this is really terrible, but in my opinion, I think you can find a much better partner than this. Because if your boyfriend can blow through his savings now and lie about it for years, then he is more than capable of doing that with your money and your house if you guys get married somewhere down the line. And that sounds like a nightmare, and I would never wish that on anybody. A pair of entitled solicitors come to my neighborhood and start bothering my neighbors, putting me in the perfect position to put them in their place and get some really petty revenge for the way they talked to me earlier. Here's what happened. Many years ago, I bought a house on a street filled with original owners. The houses were built in the 50s, so all the neighbors were seniors. Since we were young, we took care of many of our neighbors' problems like garbage cans, light repairs, and keeping the street gutters clear during storms. Our street was also prime territory for predatory door-to-door salesmen. The no soliciting signs didn't deter them, and I was getting very angry with all of them. I don't mind popping off when someone deserves it. Those fools paid a high price for their inability to read. One pair of obnoxious men didn't care for my tirade. They got offended and went next door to try their luck, but that was a big mistake. That was my favorite neighbor. My window was open, and I heard her say no twice, but they wouldn't stop. I then yelled out the window that she said no, and they needed to go. The offended one argued with me and told me to mind my own business, and that was an even bigger mistake. I then came out of my house, gave them both a vitriolic lecture about consent, and then pointed to the sidewalk. Well, grudgingly, they turned and headed for the next house, and when they got to the sidewalk, I pointed to every single house and said they are all under my protection. I told them I would follow them to each house and monitor their interactions. If they didn't leave at the first no, my lecture would start all over again. And I meant it, and I really did follow them to the end of the street. At the end of the day, I ruined their day, and all these years later, it still makes me smile. Okay, if you're gonna go door to door and someone says no, or they put up a sign that says don't solicit here, then you really should learn how to follow that, or have some kind of understanding that people don't like you. It is so obnoxious dealing with people like that. I honestly can't stand it. So I personally really love the way the original poster handled this. Am I the jerk for ordering expensive drinks on purpose after my friend's wife kept insisting that we split the bill? Here's what happened. Okay, so I have a group of friends that I've been going out to eat with for years. We went through a whole thing a while back where I was basically subsidizing everybody's meals because they always wanted to split the bill evenly, even though I always ordered less. We eventually worked it out and agreed that everybody pays for their own stuff. And I really thought this was problem solved, but things changed pretty rapidly. One of my friends got married recently and his wife started joining us. I think she's cool and my girlfriend gets along with her, so sometimes the four of us go out to eat together without the rest of the group. The issue is that she's obsessed with splitting the bill every single time. She always says it's just easier that way. And every single time I order light because I don't eat a lot and I don't think I should be covering someone else's appetizers as well as their desserts and cocktails when I had a salad and a water. I've said multiple times I prefer to just pay for what I ordered, but she just waves it off like I'm being difficult. So last time we went out, I decided, okay, fine. You want to split the bill so bad? Let's split it. I then asked my girlfriend to drive and I ordered a bourbon, and we're talking a good bourbon. The kind that's like $18 a glass. And every time I finished one, I got another one. I wasn't being sloppy or obnoxious. I was just enjoying my evening and having drinks. But yeah, needless to say, I ran up the tab. When the bill finally came along, I suggested that we each just pay for our own like I always do. She then jumped in with her usual, oh, let's just split the bill. It's easier that way. But then she saw the total. My drinks alone were probably a third of the entire bill. When she saw that, she then got really quiet and started backtracking. She said, oh, I didn't realize the split would be that uneven. Maybe we should just pay separately this time. I then smiled and said, yeah, totally fine with me. In fact, I always have been. So with that in mind, am I the jerk for doing this, or was this a good lesson to learn? Because I'm honestly not sure what to make of this. Okay, I love this so much because I absolutely hate splitting the bill when I go out to dinner. Like, dude, I don't want to split it with you. I have my own stuff that I bought. I'm willing to pay for my stuff, but I'm absolutely not willing to pay for yours, especially if it's like, yeah, we're just kind of like doing our own thing. And the fact that she's like, oh yeah, let's just split it. It's easier that way. If anything, it just seems like that's a good opportunity for like someone to take advantage of the system and be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like order more stuff and then they have to pay for it. And that's just super annoying. I would hate that altogether. So no, I don't think you're the jerk for doing this. I think this really is a lesson she needed to learn, and the only way for her to get it is for her to live it firsthand. Am I the jerk for refusing to return expensive band merchandise that I bought secondhand when someone randomly reached out to me to tell me they were stolen from her? Because right now I am really being treated like garbage over this, even though I'm literally stuck in the middle of all of it, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Last November, I bought 2 autographed K-pop posters from members of my favorite band. They were listed in my country's main Facebook selling group for the fandom, and the seller authenticated them with enough proof that I was comfortable buying. I spent a couple $1,000s on them as a gift to myself for graduating my master's and landing a big girl job after interning all summer just to secure it, which kept me from traveling like I wanted. A few weeks after posting them on Instagram, I got a message from a girl who I will call Anna from another country. She claimed the posters were stolen from her by her ex-roommate, who then sold them to me without her consent and was actually demanding that I return them immediately as stolen property. She sent a picture of the posters with a timestamp showing early February 2025, saying her ex-roommate had stolen over $10,000 worth of rare merchandise from her. Anna was really confrontational, implying that apparently I should have known that they were stolen because she posted about it a lot on social media, but I don't follow her country's side of the fandom. I live on the other side of the world and I don't speak the language. From what I gathered, her ex-roommate, who I will call Maria, came to my country for graduate school and sold the posters here where I live to people who were unlikely to have seen Anna's post. I asked Anna if she was going to pay me back for what I spent, but she said no, insisting that she shouldn't have to because the posters were stolen. Well, I told Anna I was sorry to hear about her situation, but I wouldn't be returning the posters without being reimbursed for the full amount that I paid. I offered to send her screenshots of the listing and the details of the PayPal transaction, but I wasn't going to give up the posters based on her word alone, especially without some kind of compensation. I also mentioned that while I do sympathize with her, this could also potentially be a scam between her and Maria to get both the posters and the money. I mean, there have been elaborate scams in the K-pop buying and selling community before. I then told Anna that if the posters were truly stolen and were thousands, she should file a police report in her country and handle it that way. I checked with my brother, who is a lawyer, and he confirmed that I'm in the clear to keep the posters. Since I bought them in good faith, I'm not liable, and I've only done something wrong if I knew they were stolen at the time of purchase. He also said that if Anna takes legal action against Maria in her own country and wins, it's very unlikely the authorities would pursue me in my country for such a relatively low-value case. Now, since all of this happened, I've had to make my Instagram and TikTok private because Anna sent what I can only describe as flying monkeys into my comment section, attacking me and calling me a thief. It's gotten pretty stressful, and now I'm being bombarded with messages from strangers telling me that I'm in the wrong. Some people are outright calling me a jerk for not returning the posters, and it's putting me in a weird spot. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm honestly overwhelmed by this. Okay, I am absolutely on the side of the original poster here. You didn't know anything about this merchandise. Like, you literally have nothing to do with this. Also, you have nothing to do with Anna and her, like, stuff getting stolen. So for her to come out of nowhere and be like, those are mine, give them back or I'm gonna ruin your life. Like, no, I don't think so. I don't know you. This easily could be a scam, which is like the first thing that came into my mind when I was reading this. Like, who's to say that Maria and this lady are not working together to try and get the poster back and, like, rehash this story over and over again? Like, that sounds incredibly weird and very sketchy. Like, if Anna's got a problem, then take it up with Maria. Like, this is not your problem. I will say it is kind of crazy to spend a couple $1,000s on like a poster, but I get it. Like, if that's what you're into and you enjoy it, then sure, go for it. Just please make sure you're taking care of it and you frame it properly so you don't lose it, because that's a crazy expensive investment. Like, you got to make sure you keep that under lock and key. But no, you're definitely not the jerk, and without like more solid evidence, I personally would just mark this as a scam and just move on from there, because chances are the people that Anna sent your way are probably like bots if she's like scamming you, which is something I would just completely ignore altogether. My stepmother said that I was being inconsiderate for making myself food after I got off work, as this is the 3rd time they've banned me from cooking in the kitchen, even though I literally haven't done anything wrong. Here's what happened. For a bit of context, I work from 1 o'clock until about 10 o'clock, and I usually get home at around 10:30. About 5 months ago, my father banned me from cooking because he said that I made too much food, and since then, they banned me 2 more times. The second was because I wouldn't cook after they lifted the first ban, and the third one, which I'm on right now, is because I left dishes in the sink for like
like 2 hours because I had somewhere I had to go. Part of the ban is that I'm only allowed to use the air fryer to make myself food, meaning that I can't even use the stove at all. On Sunday night when I got home, I made pork chops and broccoli in the air fryer and was done by about 12 o'clock. Now, this whole situation happened yesterday. My stepmother messaged me saying, if you're gonna come here and cook, in the air fryer, you need to be done cooking by 11 o'clock. My sleep is being disturbed when you're cooking late because of the noise and the smell, and I have to work in the morning. I mean, what? You don't get a break around dinner time? Why not eat then instead of coming here to cook late? Now, I thought this was crazy because that gives me like less than 30 minutes to make myself food, which she said I was being inconsiderate making myself food at the end of the night because it smells like I made an entire meal. But seriously, why is she so concerned about this when I'm buying all the stuff myself? I then asked why she's changing the rule now, to which she said, yes, we did say that it's going to be midnight initially, but obviously you can't follow the rules because it's definitely been past 12 o'clock. I've been woken up before by the noise and the smell, and I looked at the clock and you were still in there cooking, which I then told her that I'm always done by 12, and if I'm still in there, it's because I'm cleaning up. We got into an argument and I said, honestly, they're inconsiderate to me because the majority of the time, if they cook, they either don't leave me any food or they don't leave much at all. And they also don't let me know if it's a fend for yourself kind of night. And I even reminded them, guys, you have my number. My stepmom then went kind of crazy, saying that I was disrespectful for saying, oh, you have my number, basically acting as if I cursed her out. Then she brought up how I put a do not touch sign on my stuff, which I only do because they kept eating all my stuff and not telling me about it. And she then got all defensive when I asked if they could just, give me a heads up about this. To which she said, well, do you ever give us a heads up when you use our stuff? Which I said no, because guess what? I replace it before any of you even know it's gone. But the whole conversation was like talking to a brick wall. She literally wouldn't listen at all. And the majority of the time I tried to say something, she would just start yelling, telling me to stop talking because she was talking. And we just kept going in circles. I know a lot of people are probably going to say that I should just move out, and I am next week, but literally I just needed to vent because this was hurting my head and I just don't know what to make of it. Yeah, it sounds like your stepmom and your dad are being really weird. Like, I don't know, banning you from the kitchen and being like, you can't cook in there when they know your schedule's weird and you come home late is just really toxic in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's a good idea that you're moving out because you do not need this kind of energy. Am I the jerk for telling my dad that his harmless hobby is the reason I almost failed my thesis defense for my master's degree? Because right now he's refusing to take any responsibility, and even my own mother is sitting there demanding that I apologize to him. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I just finished my master's degree and the defense was last Friday. I had been preparing for months, printed out everything, organized all my research notes, and left them in neat stacks on the dining room table the night before because I needed to do one final review in the morning. Now, my dad is really into woodworking lately, and he gets up at like 6 o'clock in the morning on weekdays and just kind of like putters around the house doing stuff. But when I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I found that he had completely cleared the dining room table to use as a workspace. My notes were in a pile on the floor next to the couch, some pages were out of order, and 2 printed charts that I needed for a specific section of my presentation were just gone. I literally panicked, like full on could not breathe for a solid 5 minutes. We searched everywhere and never found those pages. I literally had to go into the most important academic presentation of my life feeling completely unprepared for one whole section, and I stumbled through it badly enough that one of my professors actually asked me afterwards if I was okay. I passed barely, and when I got home, I told my dad exactly how his decisions to move my stuff that morning affected me. He then got really defensive and said that I was being dramatic and that I should have been more careful with important documents. My mom is now saying that I owe him an apology for raising my voice. And yeah, I did raise my voice, I won't lie about that, but I genuinely feel like the apology should be going in the other direction. So am I the jerk for how I handle this? Because I really don't know what to do. Man, you are not the jerk. This is so stupid. Your dad knew you're going into your master's degree defense tomorrow. Like, what is he doing? He's really gonna try and act like, oh yeah, now's a good time for me to pick up my woodworking the day before my son presents his master degree thesis. Like, what are we doing, dude? You know what those papers are, you know why they're sitting on the table, and you definitely know why he laid it out the night before. I'm sure some kind of conversation happened, but even if there wasn't a conversation, this doesn't mean just like clear the table and put your crap on there. At least ask ahead of time. Like, I don't know, if I saw that in the morning, I'd be like, okay, this is there for a reason. I'm not gonna touch it, I'm not gonna mess with it, because clearly somebody put this there for like a very purposeful reason. So no, you're not the jerk for freaking out. I would be very pissed off if my dad did this, because holy crap, you prepared for such a long time, and for him to like completely ruin your flow is just absolutely unacceptable. My best friend's mom literally hijacked his entire apartment search, and watching this go on for 4 months made me realize that I'm really glad I don't have a mom like this, because she was acting super obnoxious. Here's what happened. Okay, I'm posting this because my
my friend Jake asked me to get outside opinions since he thinks he's too close to the situation to really see it clearly. Jake has been trying to move out of his parents' house for almost a year. He's 26 years old, he has a stable job, he makes decent money, and has been ready to live alone for a long time. But the problem is his mom, who I will call Diane for the sake of the story. She inserted herself into this process so completely that I genuinely started to feel stressed on his behalf just watching it from the outside. It started fine, like she offered to help him look at listings, which seemed sweet at the time, but then she started contacting landlords directly without telling him, showed up to 2 viewings he had not invited her to because she had seen the address on his phone, and vetoed 4 different apartments for reasons that had nothing to do with the actual quality of the place. One was supposedly too far from us, and one had a neighbor she didn't like the look of in the hallway. One was rejected because the building didn't have a parking spot that she could use when she visited, and Jake just kept going along with it because it was genuinely easier than an argument. Well, last month Jake found a place that he loved, didn't tell Diane the address until he already signed the lease, and when she eventually found out through his younger sister, she stopped speaking to him for 11 days. Yeah, you heard that right, 11 days in total. And this is all over not being consulted on a lease that she has no legal or financial role in. She has now started texting me directly, asking if I know why Jake seems so distant lately, as if I'm going to report back to her. I haven't responded, but Jake thinks that I should just play along to keep the peace, which if I'm being honest, I don't really think is my job. Yeah, man, this is a weird situation. The fact that she's like getting involved in this entire scheduling process, or even trying to pretend like this is somehow like her responsibility to figure this out. Like that is very intrusive and very weird. Especially when you think about the fact that she's sitting there trying to be like, oh my gosh, you did not consult me first. I'm now going to give you the silent treatment for 11 days. Have fun. Like, what are we talking about? This is so weird. Like, that's super immature. I would hate dealing with that, and I'm really sorry your friend's dealing with it, but I think you've got the right idea. You have no reason to respond to her at all. She's just trying to keep tabs on Jake because she's really controlling and manipulative, and I think you're wise to not want to play into that. Thanks for watching. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And also, please subscribe to Am I the Genius? I think you're going to love what they're making over there. It's a great channel, and you should definitely check it out. Everything will be linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.